that was good. No way. We'll proceed to the public hearings. First item is P57. Madam Clerk, when was it noticed?
Yes, sir. This was advertised in Tampa Bay Times, August 2nd and August 9th, 2023.
Commissioners, Christina Cordone, Assistant Director, Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources. P57 is the readoption of ordinance number 22-61, which amends Chapter 114, Section 41 of the Pasco County Code of Ordinances, creating a minimum wake zone within the unincorporated area of Pasco County in and around Gulf Island Lagoon.
Okay. Is it the,
There's a map going
Okay.
up there. Eric, can you? Oh, is it not up? No, not that one. So before you as an ordinance readopting, ordinance number 2261, back on December 6, 2022, the board adopted the ordinance, and it became effective December 9th of 2022. But in order to obtain the necessary FWC permits needed for the waterway markers, we needed to re-advertise and redo our public hearing so we could do 2 advertisements prior to the public hearing. So that is why we're here requesting the readoption of this ordinance. In front of you is a map depicting where the channel markers are slated to be for this project. 2 of them are in the adjacent channel, and 2 of them are in the entrances on either of the 2 areas of the lagoon.
okay. Any questions for staff? I will say this was brought up by a resident in the Gulf Island Lagoon. I will be abstaining from this one, or even participating in a conversation. Any questions for staff? Okay. So public hearing, is anyone here to speak to item P57?
There was no one signed up and on WebEx.
Okay, we'll close public comment. Back to the board.
Well, I would move approval, and I'm jealous because I'm trying to get this on the South Channel in Gulf Harbors, and we're very far behind this, but we'd like to protect some of the wildlife that's there that I see get hit all the time. So I move approval.
I'll second.
Roll call
Roll call
vote.
vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
I abstain, as was said before. Item P58, do we have proof?
Yes, sir. Advertised Tampa Bay Times, July 5th, 2023, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Nectarios Pitos, Planning and Development Department. Item P58 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for small-scale Comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 17 from Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, to Res 24, residential 24 dwelling units per gross acre, and approximately 17.87 acres of real property located north of Anclo Boulevard and east of Sweetbriar Drive, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer servability and an effective date. And we have staff to make the presentation for you.
Okay. And it was requested that we hear these items separate, so we're going to go with that. We'll see how public comment goes. If we need to combine them, we can combine them later on.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hyatt Mazzilli, Planning and Development, and I will be presenting item P58. P58 is actually a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPAS 2229 Dominium Enclosed. And let's start with the project's overview. So the applicant is proposing a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from Res 6 to Res 24. And the intent of this increase in density is to allow for the development of 228 multifamily apartment units on approximately 17.87 acres. And it is important to mention that these units are going to be 100% affordable, and this project is supported by community development as an affordable housing product. Also, this project is a traditional affordable housing project, and in that it will benefit from SHIP funds, and it is not a local, Live Local Act project. The subject site is located north of Anclo Boulevard and east of Sweetbriar Drive in Holiday. There's a companion rezoning petition in the name of RZ 7703 Dominium Enclosed, which will be presented after this. And now let's explore the site by looking at the site location. The property is located in the West Market area within the urban concentration area, as shown on this map in Holiday. This is an aerial showing the exact location of the subject site. It is actually at 1410 Sweetbriar Drive in Holiday. It is also located on a surplus school board property, and the subject site is currently vacant. This is an aerial showing the context map, or the context, the local context and the existing conditions surrounding the subject site. As you can see on this map, the subject site is within walking distance from 3 existing schools. We have Paul R. Middle School to the west, Anclo High School to the northwest, and Gulf View Elementary School is to the southwest. The subject site abuts Holiday Lake West neighborhood to the south. Duke Energy Property is to the east, and Holiday Lake Estate neighborhood to the east as well. Coastal Anclo Trail is to the west of the subject site, and it runs along the west side of Sweetbriar, connects to Anclo Boulevard, and extends to the east. As shown on this map, the surrounding area is predominantly single-family dwellings and schools. The proposed projects of multifamily will provide a different housing product to the area, and it is compatible with the character of the area and also consistent with the surrounding land uses. This is an aerial showing the access to the subject site, which will be through Sweetbriar Drive. And there is a proposed emergency access to the east, and I'll let the applicant further explain that. The existing zoning on the subject site is an expired MPUD, AC to the north and east, and R4 to the south. There's also MPUD to the west. This is a map showing the existing future land use of Res 6 on the subject site. Res 6 is also to the north, to the west, and to the east, and Res 9 to the south, as well as to the far east. And this is a map showing the proposed future land use of Res 24. Res 24 is actually a compatible land use to the surrounding uses, and this compatibility is, of course, conditioned with sufficient landscape buffers and sufficient building setbacks. Planning and Development found the proposed amendment to be consistent with the following comprehensive plan policies. Res 24, Policy Flu 8.1.1, West Market Area Establishment. So the vision of the West Market area is to provide good quality, affordable housing and disperse them within neighborhoods that have easy access to public facilities. The proposed project is an opportunity to provide attainable and much-needed affordable housing to the area. It is also located in an area where there is sufficient infrastructure, public facilities, and existing facilities or existing public services. Policy Flu 9.1.7, Urban Service Area. As I mentioned earlier, the project site is located within the urban concentration area. This area was intended for more dense and intense development, and also this area already has sufficient infrastructure to accommodate development-ready sites. So it is more cost-effective for the county to direct high-density development to area where there is existing infrastructure. Policy Flu 1.4.3, Transitional Land Use, and Policy HSG 112, Comprehensive Plan Amendments. In conclusion, Planning and Development recommends the board to find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopts by roll call vote.
Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing. Is anyone here to speak to item P58?
Yes, sir, we have 3 signed up on,
Well, you need to hear
From the applicant first, sorry.
that will work.
Barbara Will Heights, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652. I'm going to introduce my client, Contessa Archer from Dominium. Worked here a long time, and this client has it all. We're very, very lucky to have them wanting to do a project in Pasco. They're both the developer and the operator of this project, and I'm going to turn it over to Contessa.
Thanks, Barbara. Commissioners, nice to see you all again. My name is Contessa Archer. I'm a Senior Development Associate with Dominium, representing this fantastic affordable housing project that we're incredibly excited to bring to Pasco County through a partnership not only with the county, but also with the school district that's been in place for just over a year. So as Hyatt shared, our project is located right behind the Anclote Middle School, or the Paul R. Smith Middle School and the Anclote High School right off of State Road 19. Specifically, this project originated out of conversations with commissioners and folks within the community about upcoming opportunities of where affordable housing is most needed within the community boundaries. So we have been working with the commissioners for quite some time, looking at multiple different sites within the market, and just happened to be able to be introduced to the school district as an opportunity to utilize surplus land that was available that had previously been under contract multiple times, and wasn't successful for an overall development, and we came in and were able to propose some much-needed affordable housing. So one thing that Hyatt pointed out, but I'll just go quickly through our proposal, we are proposing a 228-unit multifamily project that will be 100% affordable for folks who earn at or below 60% of AMI. Specifically, Dominium and us as a company, we are not only a developer and owner of affordable housing, we also operate our developments. So one thing I really like to stress as a part of these conversations are we understand the reputation, surrounding affordable housing, and we understand the reputation of ourselves in relation to the type of housing that we provide. But the best way to see how our projects really exist and coexist over the term of the project is over the 15 to 30 years that we own it. So I'm just very proud to say that and share that, because I think that's a much different way of approaching development, a much different way that development has been approached in Pasco County, and just something that we really like to stress up front. So specifically within our proposal, we're looking at a 2, 3, and 4-bedroom project. This will be a 3-story walk-up project, so there won't be any elevators. We don't have elevators in these types of products. It really helps us to save money on the development side. In addition to, we generally only have elevators in our senior projects. In addition, this will be a family-oriented community, obviously with its location with all the schools in the current neighborhood. We thought that that was most appropriate use from a designation perspective, and like I said, this deal will be 100% affordable. So as Hyatt shared, I just want to call out as a part of the transitional land use that was approved as a part of Pasco County's comprehensive plan, going from Res 9, which is the neighbors to our south and the surrounding uses, up to Res 24 is a amenable transitional use that has been in place for quite some time. So as a part of our development, we did do significant outreach to communities surrounding our site specifically, in addition to conversations with both the commissioners, county staff, and other members within the community. I like to start with our original site plan because I think it's a good representation of how that community process was successful in creating a better project for all stakeholders as a part of this. And so, as you can see on the site, our buildings are varied. We had originally proposed projects that, let me see here. There we go. You can see these buildings immediately closest to our neighbors to the south were set back originally around 15 feet. At this time of the site plan, we didn't have any proposed significant landscape buffers outside of what was originally required as a part of the county code. And really what this site plan was trying to accommodate was not creating, incredibly long lines of parking, which we consider to be a burden on our residents as they get in and out of our projects. In addition, at the time, we did discover through significant due diligence on the project that there was over 10 acres of wetlands on the project, which are significantly hard to mitigate and work through that process and try to design, a site plan that can work, can fit the units that we need in order to make the economics make sense on the project, and really was just trying to accommodate that so that we can manage the wetlands, manage the setbacks, and stick within our targeted size of the project. So from multiple conversations with neighbors, specifically to the south, down here, we changed our site plan to be better representative of accommodating privacy. That was the largest concern for the folks that we discussed this with. I think it's frozen. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Apologies. So as you can see, we did shift buildings further north on our site away from those residents, which accommodated a 30-foot setback here, originally was 15, and then a 90-foot setback here for these buildings closest to those residences, and then this building is set back over 50 feet. In addition, as we work through some of the renderings on the project that you guys will see, we did add a significant 15-foot landscape buffer to that southern half of the property, in addition to pushing our access and our retention to the northern part of the site, specifically to help with flooding concerns and also to limit the amount of traffic that is entering through the neighborhoods themselves. As Hyatt shared, we have access off of Sweetbriar for both in and out of our project, in addition to the emergency access, which is not fully contemplated yet because we're having to negotiate with 3 or 4 different landowners to get there, but the emergency access is going to be proposed to also be north of our project connecting into Atlantis Drive, which will strictly be for emergency vehicles. So as a part of that community outreach, we had multiple meetings with a majority of the HOAs in this area. In addition to that, we hosted neighborhood drop-ins, where I was down here multiple days, both during the week and on the weekend, to hear resident concerns surrounding this project, educate them on what affordable housing means and why it's important that this type of housing be brought to the county, in addition to just hearing kind of differing viewpoints on what other issues that they're experiencing within their neighborhood and how our project may or may not contribute to helping those. So these are just some additional renderings of the project. As you can see, these renderings do a fantastic job of highlighting the 15-foot landscape buffer. There we go. As you can see here. In addition, we will have a total of 7 residential buildings on this site with a fully functioning clubhouse. Our goal with affordable housing is when you look at one of our projects, you would not know that it is affordable housing. So we have within the clubhouse itself all the amenities, including a fitness area, a fully functioning pool, playgrounds, in addition to green space. And then around the site itself, we also are making the retention area active for residents to be able to walk and enjoy their community, in addition to seeing really nice kind of landscape architectural concepts throughout the entire project, hopefully as residents are walking their children to school. So again, just highlighting the landscape buffer that we worked through with the county and staff. And specifically, one of the major wins as well is this is an additional 15-foot of landscape buffer that originally we did not have contemplated as a part of our proposal. This is on school district land, and we'll be entering into an easement agreement with them to allow us to construct that additional landscape buffer to further provide privacy to the furthest resident to our south. So again, just some architectural elements to highlight. These are 3-story walk-up buildings. We will have a fully functioning clubhouse in addition to the 15-foot landscape buffer. And the buildings themselves are sloping roofs with stucco siding and stone accents. And overall, the height of the project will be around 47 feet. And just some additional renderings for context. That's of the front of our clubhouse that you'll see immediately entering our site off of Sweetbriar. And then that's a more zoomed in view kind of the fully amenitized space that I was discussing. These are just some examples of the quality of the product that we build, inclusive of both interior and exterior product examples. These are our clubhouse areas, in addition to our playgrounds and outdoor pavilion areas. Like I said, we have a fitness center, and some projects have a yoga and cycling studio, in addition to some, we're missing the interior photo, but we originally had interior photos in there. But moving towards Dominium and kind of talking about the affordability piece, one of the most important parts of our presentations to county commissioners is educating surrounding why affordable housing is important and why this project, is really a great use of resources. Like we stated earlier, this project will be 100% affordable. Oftentimes, affordable housing projects come through for approval that only have small segments of affordable housing within them, which is fantastic. But we really believe in the tried and true model of 100% affordability. The affordability terms on this project, meaning the project will be rent and income restricted for a total of 30 years, and that's as a result of receiving a SHIP allocation on this project, but 30 years is also the required extended use period under any affordable housing project that receives federal tax credits. In addition, I just want to call out, because lots of the conversations that we're having, with commissioners around the state, especially since Live Local was passed, is this project utilizing Live Local? And this project is not. Unfortunately, for the 60% of set-asides, that is not included as a part of the kind of real estate tax abatement benefits to projects throughout the state specifically. And so currently those are only servicing 80 to 120% of AMI projects. And again, our project is only 60%. So this project will pay full real estate taxes to obviously both the county and the state for the initial 15 years of compliance period, and obviously is also following the standard entitlements process, which is why you're having to listen to me today, which is fantastic. But I will say that obviously the Live Local Act did create a larger amount of SHIP funding that came from the state for purposes of affordable housing development. Our project has applied for those, but that is also a normal functioning use or resource that is used within the multifamily space that can't be used for other projects, in addition to a sales tax rebate that is coming from the state of Florida as well. So just to talk about those incomes and what our rents are going to be on this project, if we were to build the project today, our incomes that we would be serving would be between $41,000 up to $60,000 for our residents. And then the corresponding rents for those units would be between $860 to just over $1,000. And I want to stress that our residents have to have an income in order to qualify and live at our projects. So oftentimes, workforce housing is used as a term to help coin affordable housing. I know that term can get lost in translation with specifically who we're serving, but specifically on our deals, residents have to prove that they can make 2 times the rent in their monthly income in order to live at our projects. In addition, as you can see, we've provided estimates based on AMI growth in the county, which in my opinion will be conservative, but I can't tell the future, to just show by the time the project is built in 2026, what are those corresponding incomes and what are those rents that we'll be serving. So specifically in 2026, we'd anticipate that our residents would be making between $55,000 up to $80,000 and paying rent between $990 up to around $1,285. So lastly, just in regards to Live Local and providing context and educating around this bill, specifically in this part of Pasco County, which we did an analysis on for 5 comparable market rate projects, our project is set aside at 60% of AMI, so like I shared previously, our rent will be around $1,100. For a project to qualify for Live Local benefits, it would have to be set aside between 80% to 120% of AMI, and those rents correspond to around $1,500 to $1,900. And from our analysis internally, and we look at comps all the time within Pasco County, the market rate rent for this specific area would be around $1,691. And so as you can see, when looking at kind of Live Local regulations and where our project is specifically set aside, not only is the county getting a affordable project for 30 years, which is fantastic, you can also see that there's a significant rent advantage to the rents that we're providing as a part of this project. So we see that as a huge benefit to both the residents, obviously, but also as a resource for the county moving forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Also happy to respond to any comments from the audience, but just really appreciate everyone's focus on this deal and concerns surrounding affordable housing in Pasco County.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yes. So,
Commissioner Starkey.
welcome again, and I'm so glad that we have a company like Dominium here working on this project. I'm part of the AHAC, the Affordable Housing Advisory Council. I think I'm appointed to that. And one of the charges that we have, and there's every county in the state has to have an AHAC, and I think some of them are combined. But, as you know, the goal of the state is to get more affordable housing built. And one of the best ways they said to accommodate this is to look for surplus land. So that's what we did. And that's how we found this piece of property. And I'm really grateful to the school district for participating in this project with us. I wanted to have you discuss the income. They did a lot of work with the school district to show who these clients hopefully will be. And, when I was talking with the school district about this project, I said, listen, if you guys feel politically, maybe we need to make it age restricted, we'd be okay with that. And they said, we have 4 schools in that area, and it's our hope that our employees will be able to live here and walk to work, and it could service, 3 schools right here and 1, a mile away on Gulf Trace Boulevard. So it's an amazing salary schedule that you did here. I don't know if you want to touch on it briefly, or
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't know if we can show it on the screen specifically, but I can tell you guys a bit about the exercise we did. So because we are working closely with the school district on this project, obviously housing school district employees has been a big piece of the conversation. And one of the things that happened this year that sort of brought this up and made us look at it more closely was obviously there was a referendum passed, I believe to pay teachers at least $52,000. And according to the incomes that I provided you guys today, the teachers would be, outside of that realm of qualifying for our projects. And so an ask from one of the commissioners was to really dig into who is going to be living here as a part of school district employees, and how do we ensure that we can do that. And so we worked with the school district's HR department to put together essentially a schedule of all of the schools surrounding this project, which is Paul R. Smith Middle School, Anclote High School, and Gulfside Elementary School, to look at all of the types of workers that are working there and who could qualify to live here. And as a part of our analysis, assuming that the project would be built in 2026, there's a significant amount of teachers, especially first-year teachers, who would qualify to live here. And I want to point that out because once someone qualifies to live at one of our affordable housing projects, if their income exceeds our income limits as they continue to live and reside here, we do not kick them out for that. That would be completely opposite of the type of program that we're trying to operate as a part of these properties. And so through this exercise, I was incredibly excited and incredibly excited to share with Commissioner Starkey that really those first-year teachers are going to have an opportunity to live here. They qualify to live here. Their projected incomes would qualify to live here. And as a result, hopefully would be able to stabilize their housing costs in order to move on to home ownership. On standard, within the Dominion portfolio, we own a significant amount of units. And looking at our resident base, our residents are generally at our projects from 4 to 5 years, with one of the top reasons that they leave our projects is to go buy a home. And that's this program working well. So that's really the exercise that we did. And obviously, outside of teachers, there's custodians, there's instructors, assistants, there's a whole list of people on here that will qualify to live at our project as a result of if it's approved. So that's the exercise, and I'm happy to answer any other questions on that.
They also analyzed county staff and, our firefighters, our utilities department workers, so many people that work for us and our first responders that are helping the public will be able to live here. And what that last point that she said was really important, and I hadn't thought about that until she said it in our meeting yesterday, was that being able to live here and pay a rent of $1,100 a month, as your income grows, they can put more money aside to be able to go buy, put a down payment on a home, and that's what they do. They incubate future home buyers.
Commissioner Ford.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this project to us. I'm fully aware of it, and I appreciate it. I actually am looking, in the process of looking for sites over in District 1. We need more projects like this because there's 40% of our citizens that need this kind of project. There's 40% of our employees who work for the county also need this kind of project. So it's one we've been looking for a long time, and I think it fits the bill for what we want for our citizens here in the county. So it'll serve them very well, and very well-built project the way it looks. So
You cannot tell the difference between this and a Class A apartment complex, really.
that's right.
Did you show the interiors? I know they're marble, granite countertops and wood cabinets and.
Yeah, I think it accidentally got deleted out of the presentation, but we could pull it up. But you could speak. The exterior matches the interior. So our interior of our units are fully functioning bedrooms, washer dryer hookups, LVP flooring, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. Really, the full gambit of a natural apartment is going to be included as a part of our projects.
Right.
And the way that we make that work is obviously through the use of those federal tax credits, which allow us to influx, upfront capital on these projects to really focus on the quality of them and ensure that that quality is maintained, over the first 15 years of the affordability period, which at the end of those 15 years, we're able to then reinvest in the project,
Nice.
which we essentially, Dominium does that quite a bit throughout our portfolio. I would say we're spending around the $40,000 to $45,000 per unit range at that point to further elongate the asset life of this project. So.
Okay.
Next question.
Ms. Goldstein.
Could you go back a couple slides where you talk about the property tax exemption?
She said she doesn't have one.
I know, but I understand what that's based on. So your fifth bullet, it says Dominion is not able to utilize the property tax exemption. I know you're not utilizing the entitlement part of Senate Bill 102, but what is your statement that you're not able to utilize the property tax exemption based on? Because I have the law up.
Yep.
Hey, don't tell her.
Well, I want to make sure that that we're getting accurate facts to the board. I don't care whether I mean, she could always agree to a condition that she's not going to do it, but I'm just, the law, I'm reading it, it says that if it's up to 80%, it's 100% tax exempt. 80 to 120 is 75% tax exempt. I'm not reading the law to mean that you aren't able, what is that based on, is my,
So the up to 60% set aside for the project, I believe, is if it has a nonprofit designation on it. We're a for-profit owner, and so at 60% of AMI, we were left out of any type of property tax exemption as a part of this bill, with the exception of senior projects. At this time, there's a different statute that's in place for 60% of set-asides. If the project was designated to seniors, that would qualify for the tax exemption here.
And you do have a senior project.
We do have a senior project. It's in the jurisdiction of downtown Newport Richey. It's not my deal specifically, but that deal is going to be exempt, but that's not this deal specifically. But again, that legislation was passed in 2018.
By Gulf Harbors.
so while we're listening to public comment, if you and Barbara could just look at, it's 196.1978, 3D2.
Yep, we can do that. We have, quite a bit of folks. This was a big miss for us as a part of the industry, to be honest. And so we can pull the information. I'm happy in the meantime to get that. But this project specifically is underwritten with full taxes on it. I think it's just over $360,000 that we're underwriting as a part of the project. And then I know from the legislation itself that we would not qualify as of today. So I can go back and do that,
If you could
when the
just
project
check,
comes back.
I'm only bringing it up because if there is a possibility that you're eligible for it but you're committing to the board that you're not going to use it, we might need to add a condition to the MPUD that contains that commitment. So I just want to hear, maybe you and Barbara can look while you're listening to public comment
Yeah.
at that section and just make sure, explain to me why you're not eligible for it, because it's not clear to me from the law.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay, I'll just add one thing as far as when I look at the school capacity.
This section doesn't
Gulf
distinguish
side's
between
at
profit and
72%
nonprofit.
with this development. Paul Smith will go to 77% with this development, and Anclote High is at 73. So it actually, I think, helps the schools a bit too.
Absolutely.
And those kids, I love what you haven't shown it yet, but we'll get to the next phase where you show that kids can walk to school
Yep.
with the improvements you're going to make too. So I think it's going to be a nice piece that'll be added.
Yes.
And those,
Commissioner Starkey.
if I could add, those schools opened up as Title I schools. I think Chris is here.
Yeah,
I remember,
Chris is
I
here.
was on the board when we did a couple of those schools. And what else was I going to say? Oh, and I don't believe they are full. So, AmSkills is running the academy at Anclote High School, so I'm out there frequently. But those schools have a lot of capacity.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Contessa. We'll go to public comment, and you can come back to David with his question. That'd be great.
Great, sounds good.
All right, so public comment, who do we have signed up?
All right, so we have 3 individuals signed up for P58. So when I call your name, please line up in this order. Jay Bartels, followed by Grace Elmore, followed by Susan Conrad. Please give your name and address for the record when you approach the podium. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Jay Bartels, 3830 Redwood Drive, Holiday, Florida, 34691. Originally, I had signed up to speak on just this topic. However, I wish to make my comment a little more general than originally planned after reviewing the agenda and seeing just how many apartment complexes are on today's agenda. So that maybe when looking at those, these words will be kept in mind as well. All across Florida, more apartment structures have been going up. With each apartment structure comes more restaurants, more parking, and of course, worst of all, more people. Our neighboring county, Pinellas, should have been our example of what not to do rather than what to do. From 2016 to 2022, a number of apartment complexes were completed throughout Pinellas County, with these apartments ranging from 200 units up to 400 units per complex, came droves of people moving to the area, a large number of these people from out of state. We've all seen the numbers of people that have relocated from New York and California, Florida being the highest population spike of any of the 50 states. Part of the reason for this being that we create more apartment complexes for them to move to. Let's take into account the average apartment complex with 250 units. With the average household in Florida owning 2 cars, 250 units means 500 more cars added to the area. Outside the space required to park these 500 cars comes room for visitors, the complex itself, and 500 more cars would have to be supported on our roads that are far overdue for maintenance as it is in Pasco County. Many of the roads in the area are torn up with many potholes. Some people in circles have referred to this as Swiss County. Putting more vehicles on the road is only going to make this issue worse. In regards to this agenda topic in particular, the roads in that area are already overcrowded. From that area on 19, moving to alternate 19, you are guaranteed to catch every light in the area during rush hour because that is just how far traffic backs up. Using Pinellas as our example again, the more apartment complexes that went up, the more people that moved to the area, the more time it took to get, putting many people on the road, increased drive time to school, work, etc. There's another effect to multiple apartment complexes going up, as severe cost of people already living in the area. Price increases, whether it be groceries, gas, rent, prices will be going up. AMI also goes up. In 2022, my wife and I were forced to relocate from our house in St. Petersburg because of the sharp increases that were happening in the area in Pinellas County. Where housing used to be affordable for a 2-income household, it became unavailable to most average families. Apartments went from $1,000 a month for a 2-1 to no less than $1,700 a month, a drastic increase. As apartments go up and people move into an area, the area itself will also see nonstop development until it meets the needs of its new population. New shops, new restaurants, new hotels for visitors of the populace. Gone is the greenery, gone is the scenery, gone is the peace and quiet, and all we are left with is another New York or California-style city that will be built up until it becomes unaffordable and unsustainable.
Would you close your comments, please?
Yes, my apologies. I want to be clear that I am for affordable housing, but rather than tearing down more land, I would like to see area that have been abandoned or buildings are running decrepit to be torn down rather than tearing down more greenery to put these up. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grace Elmore. I also live at 3830 Redwood Drive, Holiday, Florida 34691. As my husband said, we moved to Pasco County out of necessity, not necessarily out of desire, when our rent went from $1,000 to $1,700 in the course of 2 years. Not 5, not 10, 2. And when we checked for other housing, I would like to know where Dominium found housing for a 2-2 for $1,600, because a year and a half ago, that was $2,000 or more. We checked in both counties. We called everyone, and that was not available. And I see that you've got 4 more apartment complexes in addition to this one, and it's not sustainable for the residents. Also, and as he said, the parking, that's not enough parking. Those roads are not big enough. They're 2, maybe 4 lanes, but Alt 19 and Anclote are about 2 lanes, and it's not gonna handle that traffic. It deteriorates the quality of life for the citizens. Instead of building more and more apartments and shoving more people into the space, why not build affordable houses? Single unit houses that people can be proud of, instead of more temporary residences to shove in more people and get as much property tax as you can. That's what Pinellas County did, and it ruined the county. We were forced to leave. I lived in Pinellas County the majority of my life. It's no longer affordable. I just assume I can never live in Pinellas County again, because 2 hardworking full-time people cannot afford it. And that is what will happen in Pasco if you keep building all these apartments. So low-income housing is great, affordable housing is great, but there's got to be an answer besides apartment complexes. I think that's all I had.
All right, thank you.
I'm Susan Conrad. My address is 2044 Barracuda Court, Holiday, Florida. I'm here representing our homeowners association, which is the Gulf Winds community, which is immediately to the west of the elementary school. And the back of our community is where the proposed complex will come out onto Sweetbriar. Sweetbriar wraps around the back of our community. We are mixed. We have villas and we have single-family homes. Our biggest concern is the traffic. All of us leaving our complex have to go through the traffic light at Sweetbriar and Anclote. And when people come down Sweetbriar now, when they come up to that light, the weight of their vehicle triggers the light to turn red for Anclote so they can come out. With so much more traffic, that needs to be reevaluated so that it becomes a timed light versus a light that is on demand. In addition, the elementary school is the furthest away from the new property, and people already line up an hour before school is out at the elementary school, and the line stretches along Anclote, wraps around up Sweetbriar, and that will just continue. I'm not sure on a rainy day that parents are going to be walking their children back and forth to the elementary school. So that's a concern as to how the lineup happens. And in addition, the traffic light that is at Alt 19 and Anclote, which I believe is probably a Pinellas County traffic light, but everybody coming up to that light on Anclote is Pasco County for the most part. And there's not enough left turn lane now, so the additional traffic will back up both turn lanes. And when you're coming north to turn onto Anclote from Alt 19, there's no arrow. So I already sit there for at least sometimes one full round of the traffic light because so much traffic's coming down Alt 19, there's no opportunity for me to turn. So consideration for these traffic issues, I think, is critically important as we go forward with this project. And then the last point that I was asked to make is the current ratings of the schools. And clearly based on the makeup of the multiple bedroom in the property, they want to attract families. But right now, the ratings of the schools have impacted people selling, especially the single-family homes. And we would look at ways that Dominion could work with the schools and with the commissioners to, improve that rating going forward so it's in a better place when this opens. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have signed up.
Anyone else here to speak to this item, P58? Anyone on WebEx?
No, sir.
Okay. So back to the board. So does staff want to address any of the traffic issues or anything else?
I wanted to say one thing about the traffic.
Mr. Starkey.
And I'm looking at the map, and I'm certain we can look at that, the timing of that light at Sweetbriar and Anclote. But, when I'm driving around, and it happened to me this morning, I was coming down Marine Parkway, school started, and I guess I have to learn that at a certain time of day, I can't drive down Marine Parkway because there's a special needs bus, apparently, and the parents are all walking their children onto the bus and stopping traffic both ways. So, and I knew this going in front of some other schools, Midi-Pilock. I started to learn not to drive down that road at a certain time. But in this case, there is a grid system here. So if you know that there's going to be a backup at Sweetbriar and Anclote, there are other roads you can go around that backup. There's Anclote Boulevard can go into Anclote Road, and you can bypass that. However, I do believe that the parents at this school, or the kids at this complex will be walking and riding their bikes to school. So there's going to be very minimal addition of cars going to the schools during the school hours. So that's one of the beauties of this project, in my opinion.
Anyone from staff want to address the traffic concerns that were thrown out?
Or maybe Barbara wants to say something.
Apologize for having my laptop. I have specific language pulled up. But in regards to the traffic, this has been a concern out of all of the HOAs and neighbors that we've had conversations with. Specifically, this project itself, we're anticipating at the AM and PM peak hours that there will be 89 trips for the project, specifically with affordable housing and obviously outside of school district employees. Oftentimes our residents are working shift work, and so there's differing times that they're coming in and out of our community that are outside of these really peak hours during school, high school volume times, I would say. So as a part of those conversations, we did have a conversation with the HOA about, adding speed bumps and such to our road that connects to Sweetbriar. However, we can't take on the full responsibility of changing traffic for an entire area. But in addition to that, I would say on our project side as well, and in our lease addendums, our residents are restricted at max, depending on their unit size, to 2 vehicles per unit. So that will also continue to mitigate the proposed traffic or concerns on traffic for this site. And then I have the language specifically pulled up that doesn't allow us to take advantage of the tax exemption in SB 102, but I'm happy to answer any other questions on traffic prior.
Commissioner Waitman?
Sure, thank you. Well, I appreciate Mr. Goldstein double-checking I wouldn't say but just checking, make sure that we're not vulnerable to live local here. It's a theme. And I appreciate what's going on, what you guys are doing in your business model. Apartment, at the end of the day, we had this discussion, I think Commissioner Mariano kind of has a similar perspective. It's more rental. It's affordable rent, I guess affordable rental for a period of time. And I'm a fierce advocate for home ownership. And a person's quickest way to generate wealth is if owning a property and generating equity within that property. So it's just a general statement with as much rental to the gentleman's point who came and spoke, and there's no commercial component to it, not really a job creating component to it. So I just figure I just make that statement with the count that the only real special thing I see of this is it's more affordable for folks to live. At the end of the day, it's another apartment complex, and I hope that folks that live there are able to save up and go to the next level in their financial life. So I hope this model is overall successful for our folks.
I would move approval of.
Well, I need to get an answer to my question.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry. You're good.
Look at me. So
Commissioner Wyman, I appreciate those comments, and I think there is some synchronicities of both your wishes and what we're proposing here. And, from our perspective, too, that the project itself is not going to have jobs that are generating out of it from a commercial piece, but, we do anticipate there's 350 to 380 construction jobs that result out of this project, since it is a $100 million deal. It's a large deal. There's a lot of opportunity from that perspective, in addition to employing 3 to 5 property management staff full-time throughout the term of the project, too. And then in regards to the specific not exemption, I don't want to throw that word out, but the specific piece of the legislation, the reason our project does not qualify for it is in Section 8, it's Section 8K, which says units subject to an agreement with the corporation pursuant to Chapter 420, recorded in the official records of the county in which the property is located to provide housing to natural persons or families meeting the extremely low income, very low income, or low income limits specified in Section 420.0004 are not eligible for this exemption. And that means that because we're entering into a tax credit LURA with the state of Florida, who is essentially the facilitator of these federal credits, at this time with SB 102, we do not qualify for exemption.
So I agree with you, but I'm not sure that your zoning condition says that you are going to enter into an agreement with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. So,
Do you want to add that?
well, we can deal with that at the time of
Yeah.
zoning, but if that's your position, I agree with you, but
Yep.
I don't think that your current condition necessarily invokes that clause.
Okay.
So we probably need to look at revising your current zoning condition to make it clear that you are entering into an agreement with, or that you will enter into an agreement with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation under K.
Yeah, and that,
Because in the absence of that, I think you would comply, even you would be eligible under D2. So, so we just need to button that up in the zoning.
yep, understood. And that specific carve-out of both the bond LURA, which is currently stated as a part of our COAs, in addition to the tax credit LURA, we would be amenable to.
Okay.
I think we can address some of the traffic stuff later on in zoning, too. Okay, to the board.
I would move approval of this, what is it, P58?
E58, yes.
Second.
Okay, roll call
Roll
vote.
call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P59, do we have proof?
Yes, sir, we do. Tampa Bay Times, August 13th, 2023.
Okay.
Bear with me, Mr. Commissioner, excuse me, Commissioners, my name is Ed Zodian, I'm with Long Range Planning, and I dropped my presentation, so just give me a moment to,
All right. While he's looking to the board, this is the item that came before us before. We had looked at it, gone through a full presentation. I told you I wanted to meet with the applicant. We did look at a few different things. I made some modifications that made me much happier with what they've brought forward.
Mr. Chairman, again, this is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15, sheet 11, from Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, to Res 12, residential 12 dwelling units per gross acre, on approximately 34.18 acres, more or less, of real property located east of Little Road, south of State Road 52, west of Moon Lake Road, and providing for, excuse me, additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repeal or severability and an effective date. As you can see, this is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment. As I indicated, it is going from Res 6 to Res 12 on approximately 34.18 acres to develop approximately 168 multifamily units. There is a corresponding MPUD that you'll hear in a moment. The site location, as you can see, is located in the central market area on the, excuse me, on east side of Little Road and south of State Road 52, west of Moon Lake Road. The proposed comprehensive plan amendment is consistent with the following policies: the Res 12, the policy flew for transitional land uses, as well as policy HSG 112. Now, I think it's appropriate here to mention that when the matter was originally filed, It was for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. Staff met with the applicants and indicated that we would not support that large scale. They have modified it, and as you know, we are supporting the proposal before you now. This is the site location. This is the context map. As you can see, as I said, it's south of State Road 52. The existing future land use, the proposed future land use, and they're very similar, so you need to realize that that portion, the brown portion to the left is the subject property. This is the zoning. It's all MPUD. Excuse me, the site location flew, and we ask that you find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopt the ordinance by roll call vote. I'll be delighted to answer any questions.
Okay. So Commissioner Oakley, as I said, this is an item that came before us before. I think it used to be in my district. It's in now Commissioner Bradford's district, but I told you I was going to meet with the applicant, go over some proposals to change, and they made some good changes to shift the property, building locations, which I found was better, so I will be supporting it. It is on consent on the zoning amendment that comes up behind us. Okay. Commissioner Waitman.
I have a question. Oh, we're going to hear it twice today? Or is this it?
It's the other one's on consent, so it'll come after.
The townhomes on there, are these fee simple?
If they build apartments, they won't plat them. If they build townhouses, they will be platted. Therefore, they can be fee simple.
I read it as they're going to retain 48 townhouses. Am I misreading it?
If they
They're
propose, if they do,
converting the single-family product to 120 multifamily units. Then they plan to retain 48 townhouses for a total of 168 units.
168 units.
Are those 48, they're going to retain 48 townhouses? Are they going to be fee simple townhouses, or are they going to be rental?
I will defer to the developer who's here.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
That's it.
I see the applicant coming forward.
Shelby Fuentes, Stantec Consulting Services. So those 48 units, they're kind of acting as flex units, so they can be developed as either apartments or townhomes. We just needed a little bit of flexibility there depending on what the market is at the time of development.
I may pull the item off consent.
So they're not platted? They're not,
We have agreed that as part of the conditions of approval that they will be platted if they are to be built as townhomes.
So Commissioner, if we're jumping ahead, but if you look at the zoning conditions for this one, it's condition number 35, says all townhome products shall be platted.
they don't have to put it on there, though.
Well, and if they're not doing apartments and they're doing townhomes, they have to be platted. Typically, multifamily apartments are not, they wouldn't be platted into individual units because they're apartments.
I'm reading this as a combination thereof.
Well, staff or the applicant can explain that. I'm looking at the zoning conditions. The zoning conditions are pretty clear that they have to build either apartments or platted townhomes. They get nothing else.
Correct.
In fact, condition 32 specifically says, multifamily residential units are to include apartments or platted townhomes. No other multifamily product types are permitted within this MPUD.
I'm okay to pull this from consent because I did want to see the townhome product. That was a compromise. Would the board like to hear the zoning now or wait till we hear it after?
I'd defer to county attorney.
Well, my preference would be that if you're not comfortable with this, that you defer it to the zoning, because we haven't sworn anybody in yet, I haven't gone the procedures for rezoning yet, so we're still under ordinances right now.
All right, so let's hold on let's hold on this. I'll take public comment now for those that have been waiting. Anyone from the public like to speak to this item?
There is no one
No
signed
one-
up for
No one signed up,
P59.
no one on WebEx? Okay.
Correct.
All right, so I'm going to defer this till after we do the zonings. Item P60.
P60 was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on June 7th, 2023, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P60 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 in sheets 4, from Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre, to COM commercial, and approximately 1.3 acres of real property located on the west side of Shady Hills Road, approximately 635 feet south of Bosley Drive, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer servability and effective date. And we have staff here to make a presentation.
And does the board need a presentation?
No, I just have a question, Chair.
Okay.
So, is this 1.3 acres, is it connected to a larger piece of property zone commercial? I ask that because if it's 1.3 and it ties into a larger piece, there's nothing on it, then it's subjective to live local.
No, it's not.
All right. The question's answered.
Okay. Let me just ask a question. Anyone here for public comment for P60?
There's no one signed up.
Okay. I don't, we need a presentation? Okay. Is the applicant here? To the board.
The
P60.
applicant's not here?
No, I guess so.
The applicant raised their hand, but you can't see.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Does the applicant want to say anything, ma'am? Did you want to say anything? Okay.
Move approval.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item P61.
Advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on June 7, 2023, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P61 is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 in sheet 3, from Res 6 to Res 24, residential 24 dwelling units per gross acre, and approximately 19.98 acres of real property located on the west side of Lakeshore Boulevard, and a text amendment creating sub-area policy flu 7173 Bayonet Gardens, and a map amendment to the future land use map 2-9, adding sub-area map 2-973 Bayonet Gardens, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer servability and an effective date. And we have staff to make the presentation.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Robert Irving, Planning and Development. Oh, sorry. My apologies there. This is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment from Res 6 to Res 24. The purpose is for a multifamily development with 50% of those proposed units being affordable on 19.98 acres. This is located on the west side of Lakeshore Boulevard, and this will have an accompanying sub-area, 7.1.73 Bayonet Gardens. And the intention behind that sub-area is to require that that a minimum of 50% of the proposed units are affordable, meaning at or below 120% of the area median income. And if 50% of the proposed units are not proposed to be affordable, then this will be subject to the Res 12 future land use designation, which is what the current zoning would allow. I also want to mention that this came with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission with a contingency that the proposed sub-area be amended to include an enforcement mechanism, which we have coordinated with the County Attorney's Office and Community Development, and we have added that language to the sub-area, which will in essence require that for a minimum of a 30-year period, they are subject to enforcement mechanisms through the Community Development Department. Here's the site location. This is located within the West Market area, the urban concentration area of Commission District 5. And here's a context map, kind of just providing some overall background as to where the site is. And I think it's important to note that 700 feet northeast of the subject site, there's 2 transit stops serviced by Go Pasco. And I also want to add that the sub-area specifically has development standards that speak to walkability and connectivity to promote the utilization of these transit stops, and also to allow for the local workforce to be able to utilize this development and access all the different components of the retail business right to the north. I also called out there the 5A Road Trail, which currently with project management is going to be going to bidding by the end of this month. And after gets its bid, it should be, I believe it's 400 and some odd days that it'll be constructed. So that's just another component I wanted to mention because the residents of this subject site will be able to utilize that, and that's kind of why we have that emphasis in the development standards of the sub-area.
And Mr. Carbella, on this item here, this trail, is this coming up a lot quicker than I was told just a couple of weeks ago?
Yay.
I would like to sit and look at, I would like to sit down with staff, take a look at it and see exactly where the road's gonna go and what's gonna be replaced, if anything is. But, sorry.
Okay. It's just if you want me, it's just a continuation of that existing kind of
No, no,
sidewalk
no.
there. Sorry.
Well, I need to find exactly where it's gonna go, because it's got some issues out there, but
Okay,
separate from
absolutely.
this.
Sorry.
All right.
And here's just a location, and just to provide a little bit more background on the site itself. It is within an AE flood zone and within the coastal high hazard area of the county. There is a Category 2 wetland and an archaeological site. And here's the existing future land use, which is Res 6. One thing that I think is important to note that about a year ago, in August of 2022, you can see directly to the north an amendment very similar to this to Res 24 was approved. Here's the proposed future land use, which is Res 24. And here's the existing zoning. To provide a little background on the zoning history of this site, in 1978, this was rezoned from AC to PUD to allow for a multifamily development. And then it was again rezoned in 2006 to allow for a multifamily townhome development, with the caveat that it was capped at 173 dwelling units. And I want to just note that the applicant has gone through a pre-application to rezone to MF3, but has not filed the application at this point. The proposed amendment is consistent with the following comprehensive plan policies. And with that, I also want to note that this is not a Live Local Act project in the sense that this is a residential future land use and zoning in an area envisioned for higher density development, because this is within the West Market area and urban service area. And there is supporting infrastructure. There's county utilities that the applicant will have to connect to. Another thing that I want to speak to is that the West Market area specifically speaks to the significant inventory of affordable housing, and this will support that and help promote that vision of the West Market area. I think that's especially important considering that in 2021, the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council conducted a study, the Visualizing Development Strategies for US Highway 19 in Pasco County. And specifically, this parcel in this area was noted as an activity node, and the major employer of this area being the HCA Bayonet Point Hospital, which is currently forecasted to expand to add about roughly 200 employees, and this site will serve that surrounding workforce. Another important thing I think to note from that study is that of the employees who work in the West Market area, approximately 60 to 70% of the population is at low or moderate income levels, which will be able to utilize this development. And this comes with the recommendation that you find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and adopt by roll call vote. I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay. I'll just say that this area here, this has been trying to get something happening for a while. It's going to take another shot with some extra impetus, which is good. And I think we've had some homeless issues out there, trash is out there, and that road, if we're going to make some improvements as we look it forward, could be helpful for the area. Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you, Chair. The same, Mr. Goldstein, the same issue we're looking into with the other affordable housing
Yeah, I was gonna ask the applicant that question.
This is
Well,
exciting afternoon.
yeah, so, I was gonna ask the applicant the same question I asked the prior applicant, which is what is their intent as it relates to the property tax exemption under Live Local? But I was waiting for, I don't think staff's gonna know the answer to that question. I was gonna ask the applicant. Is that what you were gonna ask? Okay.
Pretty consistent.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Bring the applicant.
Sean Smith, Development Manager, McDowell Housing Partners, representing the applicant.
So did you want to say anything before I ask my question?
No, Commissioner, go ahead.
I'm not a commissioner, I'm the county attorney's office, but my question is the similar question to what I asked the prior applicant, which is, are you intending to use the property tax exemption under Live Local?
I mean, as of right now, obviously what we've committed to is up to 120% AMI. Again, traditionally, We specialize in affordable housing, similar to the prior applicant. However, if we were to incorporate some level of workforce housing, mixed income, we would be eligible for the tax exemption. Whether we would utilize it or not, I can't speak to, because, again, we're earlier in our phase than the previous developer. But I'm not going to lie, we would be eligible.
So you, if you were eligible, you do intend to use it?
I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm just saying we would be eligible.
Well, I agree you would be eligible. That's why I'm asking the question whether you intend to use it. That's,
Well, again, at this point, Attorney, I'm not sure we intend to develop up to 80 to 120% AMI.
okay, let me phrase the question to you a different way. If you develop 80 to 120% of AMI, do you intend to use the property tax exemption?
I don't know. I mean, that's the answer. I mean, obviously, we would speak with the council or planning, and, I mean, we would make that decision there.
Okay. Well, the board can do with this whatever they want to, but it sounds like the applicant is not willing to make a similar commitment to what the prior applicant, which is that they would not invoke the property tax exemption. So it's a policy decision for the board about whether you want to approve it, assuming they would invoke the property tax exemption.
Okay. Commissioner Wayman?
Unless you're willing to condition your property to not take advantage of the property's tax exemption, because your property and all the folks live there will require services in our county, I'm not willing to support your project at a 40% discount. So, like commitment from you, because my next step will make a motion to deny this, but I'm not going to do that. So, we're giving you a chance here of what you're willing to do with the Live Local Act.
Yeah, I mean, based on that condition, Commissioner, then I think that we would be willing to waive our tax exemption in order to move our project down the road in this, so.
Yeah, to be clear, you'd be adding it to the sub-area policies, because you don't have the zoning before you. The other one, you have the zoning before you, so you can modify the zoning conditions. The zoning is not before you, but this one does have sub-area policies, so you could add language to the sub-area policy saying that the applicant will not invoke the property tax exemption under the Live Local.
So since this is the first time this has happened since Live Local, relying on you on how we move forward, because it would be kind of, you kind of got two of the same product here and two different service areas. We kind of need to be consistent on what we do with them. And I also like to see consistency on, both projects are paying the taxes to fund the services that they're going to need. So I'm not willing to move forward until we have
So
something.
it sounds like he is willing to commit to agree to a sub-area, language in the sub-area policy that says he will not invoke the property tax exemption under Live Local.
So we can incorporate that into a motion.
You can make that part of your motion for approval.
So
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Well, hang on, yeah, we got.
I'm sorry, one
just
thing,
about public
I
comment.
would, and I am happy at this point to commit to that. But one thing I do want to just make clear is the reason that tax exemption was put in place is because when you commit units to the 80% and 120% AMI, you don't get tax credits. You don't get any funding for those units. So that is the benefit for affordable developers to then go up and offer those workforce housing units that do benefit slightly higher income individuals. Again, I'm more than fine to waive that, but I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as to why that tax exemption exists.
Our struggle, as Commissioner Waveman brings out, as far as the services go, we hear time and time again, we need the property tax to be able to pay for the sheriff, for the EMS, et cetera, and all the other things we try to do. So if that means we direct you that way, I think we're all comfortable with that. We just need that tax base coming in so that the people coming in here aren't throwing the burden on everybody else that's already here.
Sure. Understood.
But if you are going to build some affordable units, come talk to us, and maybe there's ways we can help.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so staff has got that. Very good. Okay. Any other questions for the gentleman? Take it to public comment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There's no one signed up for public
I
comment.
see one hand going up, so
Okay.
please come forward. Is there anyone else after this lady to speak to this item, P61? Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Reep, Mackenzie Reep, and I live at 7504 Cypress Knee Drive in Hudson, in Lakeside Woodlands. I've lived there for approximately, well, since the early 90s, and I attended the planning and development meeting where this was brought up the first time. I did speak and ask them about this company, about Live Local. I also asked about the Senate Bill 102, had questions about would there be a 30-year or a 15-year, which is why it kind of got shuffled around. I asked about buffers. I asked, because we have a lake there and there's a lot of wildlife and things like that, and I wanted to check on that. I'm not real sure where this is going. From what I just heard, is this like kind of tabled, or is it going through? Because I also asked about the traffic area, because we've got the new $300,000 home place that they just cleared all the land by the library, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect the traffic, along with if they build as well. So I really just don't know where we're at with this, and would like some, I guess, clarification, because Lakeshore and Dallas, that road is terrible, and even if they fix it for the development, it comes right out into the Lakeside Woodlands Drive, which is going to be directly across from the new housing, and the only light on 5A is at Clayton. So there's going to be a real traffic problem between where the hospital is and where the Clayton is by Beacon Woods. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And there's no other public comment from the audience? Anyone on WebEx?
There is no one on WebEx.
Okay. It's to the board. This area is very dense, and she says that road is in bad shape, so hopefully we're going to get those road improvements. We've had some homeless issues out there as well. It is a very dense piece of property. It's coming in with paying its taxes. I'm definitely comfortable with it, and if he can get the extra funding and he's going to go for, then I think it could be a good addition to the area. Hospital's right across the street.
Yep, people who work at the hospital could stay here. Move for approval
Commissioner Whitman?
But before, so are we,
with the condition?
with the condition of no
The
tax
additional
exemption?
Sudbury policy would be that the applicant will not seek the affordable housing property tax exemption in section 196.1978 Florida statute.
So that's Commissioner Starkey's motion.
Yep.
It's a motion, and I want to get the gentleman on record. Will we have more record enough?
He already said he was in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
So-
all right, so we have that motion with the condition.
And there was a second.
And there's a second?
Second.
Second, okay.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay. Now we go to the public hearings. And will the county attorney read the procedures?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There's 2 rezoning agendas, regular and consent, and staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. That the staff or planning commissioners recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If the staff or planning commissioners recommend denial, if there's no opposition to the application, the applicant will begin 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will begin 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative. The applicant will give 3 minutes for rebuttal. Sorry. Any individual disagreeing with their staff or planning commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any conditions of the rezoning may at this time request that the petition be pulled from the consent agenda. I think that's it.
Okay. And clerk will conduct the swearing in.
Yes. If you plan to speak on any of the public hearing items, please stand to be sworn in. Raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. First item we have is P62, which has been withdrawn. And P63, we have a continuance requested.
Advertisement,
Oh, I'm sorry, proof of
proof of application.
Sorry,
We didn't need 62, or do we need 62 also?
62 when withdrawn.
Withdrawn. Okay, so P63 was advertised in Tampa Bay Times on June 7, 2023.
P63 is PDD 23, CU 21 for a construction demolition debris disposal facility, coastal landfill disposal, Florida. The request is to continue the item to the October 24th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay. Do a motion to continue?
Move to continue.
Second? Second. And roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. P64, another continuance.
Advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, July 5, 2023.
PDD 23, 7662 Greenfield Del Webb Reserve MPUD. The item is a request to continue the item to the September 19th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Is it September 22nd or September 19th?
I have on my agenda September 19th.
Move continuous, September 19th.
Yep, September 19th, you're right.
Okay, move to continue time certain. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P65, another continuance.
Advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, June 7, 2023.
PDD 237692, it's a rezoning under the name of Rogers Flooring. The request is to continue the item to a date uncertain.
Move continuous.
I'll second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P66, do we approve?
Advertised Tampa Bay Times, July 5, 2023.
PDD 230451 Little and Ross Commercial Parcel, Phase 1. It's a request to continue the item to the September 19th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue to September 19th.
I'll second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P67, do we approve?
Tampa Bay Times, July 5, 2023.
PDD 230469 Little Road Landings Commercial PDP. The request is to continue the item to the September 19th, 2023 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continuous, September 19th.
I'll second it.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. That'll take us to the consent agenda.
You want
P68?
P68?
Yeah,
Tampa Bay
P68.
Times, July 5, 2023.
P68 is PDD 23CU03. This is under the name of Home Elite LLC and Priya Properties LLC, Urban 54 Estates. This is conditional use for multiple family dwellings in a C2. The project is proposed to be developed as a mixed-use development. It does have your condition requiring it to be developed as a mixed-use development, and it does have the Live Local Act condition. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet from the Planning Commission and the Board and the Planning and Development Department staff.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to P68?
There is no one signed up or on WebEx.
See no one in the audience, leave it on consent. P69, do I approve?
Tampa Bay Times, June 7, 2023.
PDD 237705 RBR Properties of West Florida LLC. RBR Properties is for a change in zoning from an R1 Rural Density Residential District and C2 General Commercial District to an I1 Light Industrial Park District. The applicant has voluntarily agreed to record a deed restriction consistent with the Live Local Act so that the location provides light industrial development. There's also a condition regarding a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction regarding the material recovery facility. Comes here with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to P69? We'll leave it on consent. I'm going to pull P70 as we talked earlier. So go to P71.
Tampa Bay Times, July 5th, 2023.
P71 is PDD 237724 in the name of Charles P. Casson Revocable Trust and GTC LLLP for a change in zoning from an R1MH Single Family Mobile Home District to a C2 General Commercial District with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction reserving uses to those uses set forth in C2, also known as the Live Local Act. Voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in opposition to P71?
There's no one signed up.
I don't see anyone approaching. We'll leave it on consent. Item P72, do we have proof?
Tampa Bay Times, July 5th, 2023.
PDD 237667, Decubulus and Little Road, Little MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, Little Jean D, Little Terry W, Little Peter A, rezoning from a C2 General Commercial District ER Estate Residential District and an AC Agricultural District to an MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, to allow the development of a maximum of 384 multifamily units at 21,000 square feet of commercial retail on approximately 17.99 acres. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience to speak against P72?
Ms. Elmore spoke earlier under P58. I don't see her. She signed up for this one too. Maybe her comments stood for this one also.
Ready through? Okay. Anyone on WebEx?
There is no one on WebEx.
Okay, we'll leave P72 on consent.
Mr. Chair, can we please take up item P75? I know it's listed as regular, but staff has no issues with placing it on consent, as there has not been any objection to P75.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to P75?
Ms. Elmore was signed up, but she is no longer here.
Okay. Anyone on WebEx?
There's no one on WebEx.
Okay. So if it's appropriate to leave it on, put it on consent, we'll put it on consent.
Would you like to have the publication for that one? So
Yes,
that was
please.
Tampa Bay Times, June 7th, 2023, and it was continued from the August 8th BCC meeting.
Okay.
On P75, I don't have any objection to you moving into consent, but I'd like a motion for you to do that. In addition, I think it's missing the standard Live Local Act condition, so
Yes, we're going to ask that that be placed on there.
if you do make a motion to move it to consent, please add it with the requirement that they add the Live Local Act condition.
Do I need to get the applicant to agree to it ahead of time as well?
The applicant has verbally told Denise and I that they're okay with it,
Okay.
but if you want them to get up and state that, I'm happy
As long
to.
as you have it on the record and they're okay with it?
Mr. Hobby's
He's
giving
got
us
a
the
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Mr. Hobby signaling
Let the
thumbs up.
record reflect that Mr. Hobby gave a thumbs up.
And I'll make the motion with the live local language in it.
I'll second.
I'm going to read P75. Is that okay?
Sure,
I
go
think
ahead.
we've gotten to it yet. PDD 237703, I'm sorry, PDD 237590, Mitchell Ranch East Mixed Use MPUD, Master Plan Unit, Mitchell Ranch Partnership Limited and Breezeway Limited. It's a rezoning from C2 General Commercial District to AC Agricultural District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow the development of a maximum of 322,000 square feet of commercial retail, 100,000 square feet of medical office, 260 senior apartment units, and 400 multifamily units and associated infrastructure on approximately 192.66 acres. Again, we're asking that you approve it with conditions and add the condition regarding the Live Local Act. Again, comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, so I have a motion to add this to the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. And then,
We- we-
Chairman, just a comment on this. It's good to see an opportunity for senior living. We don't see that often enough, I think, on our agenda, so just add that to my.
And your motion includes.
Yes,
adding
and my
the
motion
local act
includes,
condition.
accept it with the Live Local Act conditions that county attorney referenced.
Okay, second?
Second.
Roll
Okay.
call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye, but I actually have a question. Can we, just looking at the map, and Clark, wasn't the trail going to go behind the ponds? But looking at the map, it's not, maybe I have it wrong. It's on there. Okay, now I see it. I'm good. Aye.
Okay, thank you. District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay. Now, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye.
Thank you.
That'll bring us to P70, zoning amendment for Columns of Bear Creek. Do we have proof?
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, June 7, 2023.
Okay. P70, yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Wrong person.
Good afternoon, this is Orlando Borras with Current Planning. I'll be presenting P70, Columns of Bear Creek MPUD substantial modification. So the proposal is going to amend the current MPUD to allow 168 multifamily units, and it's located right now, south of South State Road 52 and east of Little Road. This is going to be the site location of this MPUD. This is going to be the location map. This is going to be the context map, the current zoning district surrounding the area, the official land use surrounding the area, and this is going to be the LDC variation requested by the applicant. Currently, the applicant is requesting to deviate from 901.6.d.11 street design and dedication requirements. I'm going to show you real quick the master plan. As you can see here, excuse me, can you zoom in a little bit more, the slide? No? So the applicant is requesting this deviation to not interconnect to the north side of the MPUD, all the way to State Road 52. Currently, it's really hard for the applicant right now to interconnect to the parcel to the north. It's right now a self-storage unit, so there is some space constraint for the applicant to interconnect there. And staff is amenable to grant relief of this request. The recommendation of this substantial modification comes with approval with conditions from PDD and Planning Commission.
All right, so if you would go back to the previous slide.
Sure.
Do you have a map to where the location of the apartments are going in this new property and to where they are going with the townhomes?
So hopefully you can see it here. It's going to be at the south side of the current MPUD, right over here.
And that's what the townhomes are going to be. I mean, we had a layout on the map in my office with these folks. Do we have that map?
Sorry.
We had a layout with the applicant.
Okay.
But I don't see it here.
Well, at that point, it's going to be just conceptual, but they are going to be locating the 168 units right over here. Of course, as was mentioned before, they are going to at least have the option for the townhomes.
Okay, we'll wait for the applicant.
Yeah, so Chairman, may I?
Go ahead.
Hey, is there a Google map you can pull up there, all the way up to State Road 52? I thought I saw something all the way up to the Circle K that's on the corner. You able to do that?
When you've got a map in the agenda, should be able to pull that up.
So my point to this is, when you cross Moon Lake Road, see where that silt fence is? Right there on the south side. It's a car wash, and then a little bit further west, it's a storage facility. So we're going to have, this goes to a bigger point, discussion on this thing.
Okay.
Car wash, storage facility, and a little to the south, more multifamily. You see the pattern there. I guess I'm questioning the thoughtfulness of how we're designing and approving these. Again, with this project, and the same with any multifamily, I'm a huge proponent of home ownership, so I want to understand this townhome piece versus rental. So far, we're getting mixed signal. It's all rental or all fee simple townhome product. That's a huge difference between rental and home ownership in my mind. So I'm hoping to get some clarity here on what this is gonna be. So, you know, it could be all rental, car wash, storage facility. I mean, exciting stuff. You know, if we're not careful with what we're doing here.
So as it was mentioned before in condition 32, and I'm going to cite it for the record, multifamily residential units are to include apartments or platted townhomes. No other multifamily product types are to be permitted within this MPD. So if the applicant decides to build the townhomes, they're going to be abiding by the new standards that has been very well discussed lately for townhomes.
You wordsmith that well.
So I think what to restate the concern, it didn't sound like you have a concern with the platted townhome. Your concern is with the multifamily apartment.
Well, they have a choice there. And if we're approving something and they're asking our opinion, I prefer to see home ownership. I prefer to see platted, individually owned townhome product than more rental.
In terms of the how this is going to be work, I will defer that question then to the applicant. They can speak more about how this is going to be working in the future.
Okay. Let's hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon again. Shelby Fuentes, Stantec Consulting Services. So if you wouldn't mind, recap exactly your question so we can best address that for you.
The ask is to keep the same number of apartments, and now you're asking for townhomes. And from what we're told by staff, they want to have the option to flip back to apartments in the townhome product, and we're not comfortable with that. And that goes completely against the conversation I think we had in my office as well.
So part of that, we were initially then, the original conditions of approval, then it had a maximum of 270 units, and the 222 have already been developed. Those remaining 48 units are currently as 48 single-family townhomes, or I believe they could also be single-family residents. So part of that conversation is where we introduced, well, these can be townhomes, and we're just looking for that flexibility there. If there's not the market at the time for townhomes, then it would also be suitable for multifamily apartments. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, coming back to me now, seeing this map. So when this was continued, we were all set for having about acre-sized residential units, right? Single-family homes. And we compromised with somebody, I'm going off memory here, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We compromised of having, with the project that's going in, some multifamily and some townhome product, and we went back to Commissioner Mariano, y'all talked with him. I'm just going off memory of that board meeting. And what you're coming back with is not, this board seemingly made a concession by doing, changing from true single-family home product to what you're seeing here. And it's eroded away the value of your product with what I'm hearing today with the project and its design. So,
For clarification, when this item was heard before the board the first time, that was for the comprehensive plan amendment, where we were just discussing the comprehensive plan amendment. Part of that conversation was we were going to circle back with Chairman Mariano to review what the site plan would look like and what those units, how we transition that into an actual plan. So at that moment, we had no conception of whether those would be townhomes or apartments, for clarification.
Let me help you clarify the meeting that I had with you guys. And it was very clear that I didn't want to see the extra apartments to the back part of the property. Your own gentleman scheduled where we could actually draw in apartments to the front part, and the back part was going to be townhomes.
Okay.
So it's completely different from what I expected to see.
I don't want to, Chair, may I?
The other lady who's in the meeting, she's coming forward, so she may say something different.
Sorry about that. So to this rear, then this is currently, this is what we had discussed initially, was the location of townhomes. We have worked out with staff that those would be the same standards that have been adopted for townhomes, the additional architectural standards and features that we have discussed. At the time, then you were also asking to have them platted. That's something that we went back with our client and had additional conversation on, and he had requested for that additional flexibility.
Okay, so we are clearly saying we don't want to give the flexibility.
And again, we have also discussed with our client today, if we absolutely need to, then we can just agree to just do this, the townhomes as platted units, and we'll be perfectly okay with that.
Well, to be clear, there's already a condition requiring your townhomes to be platted.
Correct.
Are you saying you're giving up, do you want to give up the apartment, the right to do
Yes, sir.
apartments?
So we would just be limiting that, instead of having phase 2B to have the flexibility between multifamily apartments and the platted townhomes, we would be agreeable to just limiting that to the platted townhomes.
But you still want apartments in 2A?
Correct, yes. Those would still be the 120 multifamily apartments.
So 2B, so you're saying 2B,
That's not on our map. Where's 2B? That's 2A. Oh,
2B is in the northeast corner.
and you're agreeing that you'll make those fee simple towns? Is that what you're committing to?
Gentleman back's putting a thumbs up to that, so something we can't
Well,
condition,
we
but they
need
can agree
somebody
to
to
it.
come make a
Well,
decision here.
you could condition it. You could condition that phase 2B be limited to platted townhomes.
Yeah.
I don't think the current conditions require that. Right now, the current conditions only say if they build townhomes, they have to be platted. It does not limit them to, it doesn't locationally limit them. But you could impose a condition that phase 2B only be platted townhomes.
Can they be conditioned to be fee simple platted townhomes?
If they're platted, they're effectively, you're ensured that they're gonna be homeownership. But you can't stop somebody from renting their home, I wanna be clear, okay?
Right.
You can require them to be platted,
Mhm.
so they can be sold off as individual units. But if somebody wants to rent their unit,
They can.
they can't, so
Right.
you can't, so, yeah. Requiring them to be platted is what you can legally do, which is,
Okay.
there's already that condition in there.
Okay,
What is not in there is any requirement that 2B, phase 2B, only be townhomes. It sounds like they're willing to agree to that.
that's what I'm seeing. Okay,
That would allow 2A to be either apartments or townhomes.
okay, so to add that condition in, I'd like to hear from the applicant just to confirm that they're willing to do that.
If I could help here, Diane Chadwick with Stantec. I would point out, in our meeting with the chairman, we did discuss moving the multifamily buildings a little to the east to get them away from the large
Right.
lots, which I think you can see that
You
happen
did a
here.
great job there, thank you.
I think as a point of clarification, we're talking that we're asking for 120 multifamily units and 48 townhomes. The other alternative is just plain and simple 120 multifamily units, not asking to convert. And I understand what David's saying, that maybe it's not as clear in the conditions of approval that it should be. But we're not asking to convert. We're willing to agree to not convert the 48 townhomes to multifamily. Does that help?
Not really.
It's part of
No,
it.
no, I mean,
I thought he did.
okay, well, I guess the question is, are you willing to agree that the plan but using the plan we're looking at, phase 2B, that only be townhomes?
We would
Platted.
agree to that, yes.
Okay.
Platted.
Or open
Platted
space.
townhomes. Well, the townhomes have to be platted anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
Platted townhomes, yes.
And 2A, you want to be either apartments or townhomes, is that accurate?
No,
Or
there's one
just
apartments.
120 multifamily apartment
Right.
buildings.
Okay, so,
Units.
so 2A would be apartments, 2B would be platted townhomes. That's what you're offering.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
These Class A?
I have a couple questions.
All right, Mr. Starkey?
Do you have an amenity package here?
There's an existing apartment complex there of 222 units, and that does have a recreation facility. We haven't designed one in yet, but I would anticipate that there would be an additional recreational amenity on the southern side.
Does this not trigger more requirements for park space?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will have to comply with our neighborhood parks ordinance.
Okay, and will the townhomes be following our new rules for the length of driveway and landscaping and all those things?
Yes, they've committed to all of the new rules as applicable to townhomes,
Okay.
That's in the conditions of approval
Okay.
already.
and the fact that they would be plotted.
Yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead. Commissioner Starkey?
I'm trying to remember what your emergency access was, or your secondary access was.
So in discussion with staff, then so this is the only possible access for the property is through 52. So this does have a full loop that goes around, and they did say that that would satisfy that need for dual access. And the fire marshal has approved that as well.
There's no ability to connect to anything around you?
So above, then it is bayonet point. It is, they're right up at their property lines. There's no opportunity to extend there. There are significant wetlands to the south and to the east. And same with the below, adjacent to like the Res 1, there are significant constraints with the wetland locations.
So rural back there.
Yeah, it's just surprising that many units in one in and one out.
And all the,
Not what we really want, but.
and all the retail in the front's now a storage area, which they tried to get and just didn't quite work out. Maybe it does change later.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here for public comment
This is 70?
on P70?
No, Ms. Elmore was the only one signed up.
Okay, so did I go back to the land use before?
You've not approved the future land use amendment yet.
That was P58, correct?
Let me see.
You deferred 59, is that what you're
59.
asking?
59, okay, there it is,
Yes.
sorry. Got a few X's here. All right, so let's go back to the land use amendment. Well, no public comment on P70. No one on WebEx?
There is no one on the web.
All right, so let me bring the board back to
P59.
P59. That was the land use. So we've heard the discussion, same amendment. Now we've got the clarification as far as what's going to go.
To be clear, though, if you're going to add an additional condition, it should be to the zoning, not the land use.
Right, so I just need an approval or a motion for P59.
I do not remember if we did the advertisement, so I'm just going to state it for the
Okay,
record.
good.
Tampa Bay Times, August 13th, 2023.
Okay. I think we had because we had discussion on it. All right, so we approve for P59. Do we have a motion? No motion.
How would the motion need to be said?
This is just the land use part.
Oh,
The zoning, we can address the concerns about the
all right,
plat.
I'll move approval.
Second. Okay.
Okay, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
A reluctant aye with only one entrance.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay, now P70. Mr. County Attorney, you want to help with the motion maker?
Well, I was going to suggest that you approve it with the condition that Phase 2B be limited to platted townhomes, but I'm not seeing, I guess I need staff's help. I don't see Phase 2B geographically depicted on the MPD plan. I only see it depicted on the concept plan. And so can staff or the applicant help me out as to where 2B is it on the MPD plan or just on the concept plan?
Excuse me, David, can you repeat again your question?
So I think the board is inclined to add a condition that Phase 2B be limited to platted townhomes, but I'm not seeing where that is geographically depicted, Phase 2B. I just see a Phase 2 on the master plan. I don't see a Phase 2B. unless I'm missing it.
That's what's in your packet. Yes, that's what's in the.
So,
David, are you asking if the exhibit in the ordinance is illustrating the 2B parcel?
Yeah, my question is, because I'm saying this for the benefit of current planning, if we impose a condition saying that Phase 2B is limited to plotted townhomes, I'm not sure what anybody would look at to figure out where that is. Because when I look at the MPUD plan, it just has a Phase 2, it just says Phase 2. Well, it doesn't say anything about a 2B.
Okay.
So, should you want us to refer to the conceptual non-binding
Yeah.
yield plan?
Do you have to?
Should refer to.
Because it's the only thing I have.
Yes.
So it's going to make it a binding plan, basically.
At that point, yes.
Okay.
No? Okay.
Well, the applicant want to help out here?
What?
Whole thing launched.
He wants your reference.
oh, the clicker is right over here.
There. That right there. This site plan is the master MPUD plan, and it does show Phase 2A and 2B.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't see that in our materials unless I'm missing it.
This is the presentation itself.
Okay, so. I found it. Okay. All right. It is designated. Okay. So the condition of approval would be that MPUD Phase 2B be limited to platted townhomes, and you're going to have to go through and modify some of the corresponding text to also make that clear that Phase 2B is limited to platted townhomes. That would, if that's your intent.
And I can say on behalf of the applicant, that's perfectly fine.
And your name for the record, please?
Diane Chadwick, Stantec.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, do we have a motion? To the board.
I beat it up enough, so I'll make a motion. I'm just confused here with our staff. I hear concerns from Commissioner Starkey, obvious concerns from Chairman. I picked them on some concerns. There's obviously some sort of level of disconnect on this one somewhere. I mean, this is the most discussion we've had on a project like this, so I don't know, maybe do a little bit better job on it going forward on projects like this, but I'll make a motion to go forward, but not overly excited about it.
Also a statement, but,
So that's with the condition that
With the
Phase 2B be limited to platted townhomes.
With the condition, motion includes a condition of the county attorney's
Yeah.
response.
and I'll second that with a statement of other projects we've seen have been designated for townhomes and then residential in other places, not necessarily multifamily, but residential, then they had townhomes along with the project. But they were described and where they were going to be located and that type of thing before. This one doesn't seem to have that.
And it didn't, and like I said, when I had pulled it, and I appreciate the board letting me get it continued to this matter to address it. They did a great job sitting down, drawing the diagrams, how it could work, so that the Phase 2B is, the townhomes are much less a problem for the people that live in the back there that weren't here to complain, but at least I think it shows the right design.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
all right, call the roll.
Okay, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Item P73, do we have proof?
Yes, sorry, let me get to that page. Tampa Bay Times, June 25th and July 2nd, 2023.
Good afternoon, Nicholas Laffis from Real Property. Sorry for jumping ahead earlier. I'm here to present item 73, petition to vacate portion of platted drainage easement for 7515 Laurel Oak Court, Port Richey. Douglas Jones and Amanda Jones, no funding required. The Real Property team has received a petition to vacate a portion of the platted drainage easement filed by Douglas Jones, who resides at 7515 Laurel Oak Court in Port Richey, excuse me. Can I get the next slide, please? The purpose of the vacation is to allow the petitioners to remodel the existing swimming pool and surrounding deck. The petitioner received a letter from Southwest Florida Water Management District with no objections and no environmental resource permit required. That's the location map. Next slide. There were no objections to this petition, and the Real Property team recommends approval.
Okay. Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing. Anyone here to speak to item P73?
So Douglas Jones did sign up under P73.
Okay.
But he is the applicant.
The applicant? You don't need to speak if you don't want to.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else to speak to item P73 in the audience? Anyone on WebEx?
No,
Okay,
sorry.
To the
Sorry.
board? That's okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P74.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, July 16, 2023.
Good afternoon, Bob Goring, Pasco County Budget Director. On August the 8th, Pasco County Sheriff's Office received a federal justice assistance grant to the tune of about $134,000. The requirement of that grant is that there be a public hearing to receive public comment on the potential uses of that grant. With that, I'd like to ask the chair to open it up for public comment.
Okay. Time for public comment for P74. Is anyone here to speak to this item?
There was no one signed up, and there was no one on WebEx.
Okay, we'll close public comment. It's to the board.
Thank you.
Move approval.
Second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Item P75.
Advertised in Tampa Bay Times, June 7, 2020. Wait,
We've already taken care of 75.
You mean 76?
76, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, June 7, 2023.
I lost a piece of paper here.
Good afternoon, William Vermillion, Planning and Development. Fortunately for us, my colleagues did a pretty great job going over this one, so I will run through it kind of quickly and touch on some things that maybe they didn't cover to avoid some redundancies. So everybody's already familiar with the location. So this was the site of the old bluffs at Gulfside MPUD that was approved in 1997. Of course, the overall location area and context map showing the schools as well as the trail and the Duke Energy easement. The zoning.
Yep, can you go back one
course.
second?
Sorry, tell me to slow down at any time.
I think that is our easement to the east of the Duke
Yes,
easement.
so directly to the east of the Duke Energy property, there's the Pasco Facilities property, and then further to the east of that is the Vertical Bridge property that is a platted lot within the Holiday Lakes Estates neighborhood that they use to access that cell tower to the north.
So that's a great opportunity for a trail one day. Even if it's an off-road trail, just an unpaved trail. Okay.
This is the zoning map, as well as the future land use. So the applicant does have two variations from the land development code with this project, one from 901-6D11, street design and dedication, the other from 805.6, restrictions on wetland, post-development wetland and upland buffers. So the staff analysis for both of these sections, we kind of just covered for 901-6D11. So there's an existing wetland mitigation area on the eastern portion of the property that abuts the Duke easement, as well as that platted lot that Vertical Bridge owns that does prevent a fully functional access to the east There's that existing neighborhood to the south that's already platted that prevents the connection to the south. And from 805.6, this is a multifamily project, and this variation from the code is to allow this to not be platted and to be under common ownership. The developer may enter into a reciprocal easement maintenance agreement in the form acceptable to the county. This is the master plan, and this is the zoomed-in version of the master plan. You can see the pedestrian connection to the south. There's an existing 5-foot sidewalk that will connect this project to the school that's immediately to the west. And to the north, in the conditions of approval, there's an 8-foot path that's going in alongside the access way that will allow the citizens that live in this community to access the Anklote Trail, which is on the west side of Sweetbriar Drive. This is the potential emergency access that the client, or that the applicant is exploring with Duke to see if it's possible to have an emergency access. Of course, that's all subject to Duke and Vertical Bridge agreeing with this, and they're exploring that at the time of PSP or PDP. This is a contingency of the Planning Commission. It was to fully lay out what the additional enhancements to the buffering needed to be as shown on the master plan. You can see here that it's shade trees every 30 feet with palm trees, a 6-foot opaque wall, and a continuous row of hedges. And it is noted that that buffer, like was said by Contessa from Dominium, doesn't extend an additional 15 feet onto the school's existing property, just to buffer that last lot through an easement with the school. A couple other things that, that weren't talked about in the other two presentations. This project is going to comply with LDC section 1103, hurricane hazards. They're required to submit a site-specific evacuation plan to the Office of Emergency Management due to their proximity to the coast and the coastal high hazard area. They are also going to be paying into the hurricane preparedness mitigation fees pursuant to LDC 1307.2. With that, that comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning Commission and PDD. That also encompasses the condition that you guys talked about with the comprehensive plan amendment.
We probably need to talk about the wording of that, but, oh, you're talking about the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for staff?
No, but I'm going to show you something when Barbara's done.
Okay. For the applicant.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, for the applicant. It's one of the better presentations I've seen, both of your staff people on both of those items, so well done. And working with them, they really did a nice job, and David, and you know, to get to this point, I can't tell you how much work it is to get these conditions together, and everybody works together, and I just want to take that opportunity, because I don't really have a presentation at this point, but I wanted to say that to staff, because really great to work with, and those are very good presentations. Yes, we did meet with the emergency management already. Andrew Fossa, I called him and said, hey, I want to meet with you, and he called me back and said, why? Never had anybody ask to meet with him and give him an emergency management plan, emergency evacuation plan before he ever even asked for one. So they already have one that they're reviewing, and they want to use it as a sample for everybody else. So just wanted to tell that story publicly, because he was happy to meet with us, and it was a good collaboration. With regard to the language, David, we worked back here for about a half an hour with language. We're going to need to work with you offline. I guess it leaves two options. The option I'd like is that if you would so want to move this forward for approval, it will be subject to working out the additional language to condition 36A with the county attorney's office. It's just a programmatic thing about when we do this agreement with.
Well, I guess I was going to try to simplify it, Barbara, because my only concern with relying on K is I don't know what the legislature is going to do or not do with K. Would your client agree to just a simple statement that the applicant developer shall not apply for the affordable housing property tax exemption in section 196.1978 Florida statutes, similar to what we did with the other project? Because if you agree to that, then we don't have to worry about timing of agreements or anything else. It's just, you won't apply for the property tax exemption regardless of what future steps?
Stand by.
Okay.
While she's doing that, could you put up Google Maps of that area? Denise, did you get my email?
I'm going to ask if we take a 5-minute break.
Oh, okay.
You've got to go, I've got to go, so
Yeah.
let's take a 5-minute break.
Right this second?
Right now.
Okay, right now. They can't think.
We'll break right now.
What's going on today?
Apparently I'm made of something different material. Thank you. So we need to have this conversation
Yeah.
later. I need to, okay.
Well, Carvel's gonna bring it up. Okay. As the applicant wants to continue,
So despite my efforts to channel a competent, affordable housing attorney, I'm not on that side of it. So we need to continue if we could, so that we can work with the county attorney's office to get the language right. So,
But I think Barbara and her client understand the board's intent. It's just that they don't want to mess things up with the way it's worded, so. But the board has been very clear that you don't want them to utilize property tax exemption. They've committed they're not going to use the property tax exemption. They've got to make sure they get the language correct.
can we put it, if they do want to, and take that approach, that it comes back to the board?
Well, I'm not sure if they want to come back to the board.
I'm sure they
oh,
don't.
we're fine. So
I mean, if we
two
just put
different
that
ways-
condition in, it's going to
Well,
be added, it's
in
got to come
theory,
back to
if you
us.
put the condition saying they won't do it, then they would have to come back to the board to get the condition removed.
Mhm.
So that's implicit. If you condition it saying they won't do it, they'll have to come back to you to do it, to use the property tax exemption. That being said, I'm not sure their issue is not utilizing the property tax exemption, because they already did a PowerPoint saying they're not going to use it.
Right.
I just think they want to make sure it's worded properly so that maybe, I think they may be worried about precluding themselves from other funding sources. I'm not sure what the concern is.
We just don't have the people here.
But if the applicant's asking for continuance, I support it because I don't want them to mess up their own project.
Oh, you want to continue it?
We want to
Yes.
continue it, yeah.
Continue to, what, 2 weeks? Or,
Why, isn't that an easy sentence to craft?
No, it's really not. Wait, I've been trying.
I offered an easy sentence, but apparently it
Yeah,
was too easy for them, so I.
Yeah, if there's,
So
they have lawyers that specialize in this stuff, and they just, want to make sure that they do it, not me.
Okay,
So,
is 2 weeks okay?
2 weeks is fine.
Okay. Let's
2 weeks is
let's
fine.
go to the
Is
ne-
it
what's, when's the next board meeting?
The 5th of September, I believe. September 5th. In Dade City. In Dade City, 1:30.
I'm okay with the Dade City just because we've gone through the whole dialogue with it.
and we,
Well, you
Yeah,
can,
we've been through-
you can close the public hearing.
Okay.
If you want to, that way you're not conducting a
Okay.
new public hearing.
yeah, when you do that, then you won't,
Okay.
there's no public hearing, you're
All right.
okay doing that.
So before we continue it then, anything else you want to add?
No?
All right. Commissioner Starkey, do you want to add something else?
No, I just would rather, oh, yeah, I did. Okay, can you show that map? Sorry. Google Maps of this location. I just want to show you something as we talk about adding traffic onto the roads, another way to relieve traffic. And there's a couple problems out in this neighborhood, and some previous boards did some things which I would never agree to today. Okay, I need the other view.
The
Satellite view. And then I'm going to ask you to zoom out just a little bit. No, but don't go north, go the other way. Nope, the other way. Okay?
Go
I
north.
want to add, what I'd like you to add is the Holiday Rec Center, which is to the north.
What are you gonna do?
Still a little to the north. Okay, you see it up there, the Ben Harrell Recreational Complex? If you look where this land is gonna be, where this development's gonna be, and I told you about this easement that the county owns, and you can maybe zoom in on that easement along. So there's a Duke corridor. Okay, come a little south now. All right, so there's a Duke corridor running along here, and then it keep going, moving south. There's the park. And you see this road that's coming down here from the park? It's kind of a dirt road, maybe. I don't know if it's paved or not, that one.
Is that it?
If we just keep going down, if we just find a way, there's a little bit of water right there, but if we just put some kind of little bridge over that channel or canal, it's not very big, all these kids down here can ride their bikes to their soccer practice and their baseball practice and basketball and not have to get out and drive all the way around to get into the park. Because that's county-owned property already. So,
Well, we got penny for Pasco
Is there a
Trails.
trail there right now?
It's mowed grass. You can ride a bike on it. It's not wet. I've hiked on it and walked on it, and
So it's just for pedestrian?
it's just land it's just an easement that we own. I don't know why we own it.
I think there's a utility easement there, if I'm not mistaken.
So what, there's utilities underneath it?
Yes.
And we mow it, and I'm saying they can ride it today. They just have to be able to get across that little
That canal?
canal down there on the end. So,
Well, let's just have staff look at that, and
Yeah.
when we come back with the meeting, let's have an answer. We can do that.
okay.
And that penny for Pasco money we put in for trails for transportation component, and just
Yeah.
like I was saying earlier, let's go look at doing these
Yeah,
things.
you can buy a ready-made bridge and just
Okay,
boop, pop it in.
so we ready to,
All right, so public comment. Anyone here to speak to this item? Anyone signed up?
Well, we had 3 people, but I think they all left. Jay Bartels, Grace Elmore, and Susan Conrad. I do not see them in the audience anymore.
Okay. So no one in the audience to speak?
Nope.
No one on WebEx?
No one on WebEx.
To the board.
I'd like to move to continue this to the meeting in Dade City. Is that September, what?
Staff is a little worried about
Yeah.
the 2-week turnaround on paperwork with their process, so,
Want to go a month?
so
The 19th?
I think they'd be happier if it was a month, and I'm
19th
fine
back
with
here?
that.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll move that we continue it to September 19th in Newport Richey at 1:30.
Second.
Okay, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
2,
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
I didn't vote.
Aye.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, thank you to Ms. Wilhite and the Dominion team for letting us look into this and being, working with us on it, so, aye.
I think District 3, I'm going to say it again, Commissioner Starkey.
I said aye.
Okay, thank you. District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Item P77, do we have proof?
Yes, sir, we do. Tampa Bay Times, July 5th, 2023, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P77 is CPA 22047 Diamonds Commerce Park PD. And we have staff to make a presentation regarding the comprehensive plan transmittal to the Florida Commerce Department, which is formerly DEO.
Good afternoon, Amy Tull with Planning and Development. The item before you is CPA 2204, 7 Diamonds Commerce Park. As Terry mentioned, this is the transmittal hearing for the proposed comprehensive plan amendment. So as stated, this is a proposed comprehensive plan amendment. The existing future land use is Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre. The applicant is proposing a future land use change to PD, planned development, to allow for a mixture of heavy and light industrial uses on approximately 188.7 acres. The subject site is located on the east side of US Highway 41, a couple miles north of State Road 52. There is an accompanying sub-area policy running alongside the planned development future land use classification in the name of sub-area policy FLU 7.167, 7 Diamonds Commerce Park PD. There is also a proposed rezoning petition to MPUD to implement the standards set forth in the sub-area policy. The proposed site is located in the North Market area and rural transition area. Here's a location map or aerial view of the proposed area location. Your current zoning district is currently R2, low-density residential. The applicant is proposing accompanying rezoning to MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development. The existing future land use being Res 1, and the proposed future land use being PD. Here's the accompanying sub-area policy concept plan. As you can see, the entire area is actually planned to allow for light industrial uses, with heavy industrial uses only located along the interior of the proposed development. It is also located west of the CSX Railway, as well as east of US Highway 41. There is a residential community to the north of Pasco Lakes Acres, and then there's also a residential community to the south after the Category 1 wetland called Pasco Lakes Estates. The Seven Diamonds Mine is also on the other side of the street or on the west side of US Highway 41. The proposed amendment is consistent with the following comprehensive plan policies. Primarily, the applicant's proposal from Res 1 to PD to allow for industrial uses is supported by various employment-generating land use policies in place. And with that, we recommend you authorize transmittal to the Department of Commerce and other reviewing agencies. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for staff? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon again. Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, 34652 for the applicant and owner of the property.
Ms. Wilhite, you've been sworn, right?
I've been sworn.
Thank you.
Forgot a lot already, but yes, I've been sworn.
Okay, thank you.
Just wanted to point out that we have not asked for all heavy industrial uses. So as Ms. Heiler said, Mrs. Stahl said that all the property can have light industrial. We've asked for certain heavy industrial uses centered in the property, but those certain ones, and when I tell you what they are, you'll be able to make the connection to why we're requesting these. Ready mix plant, paver plant, concrete products and specialty concrete products manufacturing, soil cement mixing plant, road building material manufacturing, and asphalt plant. Basically, the concept is to take the materials that are generated over at Seven Diamonds Mine and be able to move them here and make things with them, just as simple as that can be.
Yeah.
And so that cuts down on trips. If not, we take the materials from mine and they go other places, like to Hernando, and they do this manufacturing and processing, and then they come right back down on your roads to serve your development and your construction, including, county projects as well. So I just want to give that perspective of why this is here. And obviously, this area across from two limestone mines, this makes a lot of sense next to CSX Railroad. And we do have the MPUD coming. We've been working on it with staff and the county attorney's office. A lot of unusual conditions in there that I haven't ever had the benefit of doing before. But the county attorney's office really wanted to make sure that when we have some of these uses, that we worry about air quality and making sure that there's conditions that not only the DEP, we actually moved the DEP conditions into our MPUD conditions so that the county can enforce them if the DEP doesn't. So, of course, we can talk more about that. This is just transmittal. Because it's a large scale, we don't bring them together. So we're going to do, if you'll transmit it today, then we'll bring back and you'll see the MPUD and the adoption at the same time. So, thank you.
Okay. Barbara? Yes. So, question for you. As far as the buffering goes, I'm glad to see that you're putting light industrial on the edges. Are you doing anything extra to what the code says as far as to buffer the property? I know you did that before with the mine next door, but.
Yes, we do have setbacks and additional buffering. If I could read the scale of this plan, but we will have that in the MPUD.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that we bring that forward.
I'll be looking for it.
Good.
All right. Any other questions for Barbara, the applicant?
I have a question for staff, but.
Okay. Now let me try to do public comment.
Okay.
Anyone here to speak to this item in public comment?
You have two individuals signed up, Stephanie Schatzman, followed by Jack Jones.
Stephanie Schatzman, 15234 Scanio Drive, Spring Hill, Florida, 34610. John Moody on the planning board said this was a good place for a concrete plant because Pasco County didn't want this type of heavy industry in other parts of Pasco. Seriously, Pasco County has no concerns for crossbar welfare, the environment, or prosperity, economic viability, mobility, and health of the residents that call this section of Pasco County home. John Mooney said that we would drive by the concrete plant without noticing if it, as he drives unaware by the State Road concrete plant. What a stupid statement. According to the Pasco County Growth and Management Department in 2011, the consistency determination stated, as disclosed in the Comprehensive Plan and Policy Review section, the proposed limestone mining operation is considered as incompatible and inconsistent with the surrounding uses and developments. First limestone blasting mine was approved on May 7, 2013, when it was in an active foreclosure lawsuit. I guess you don't check your records. That opened this whole mess up. The mine expert for Lago Verde Mine said the distance a blast would be felt was 2,300 feet. Blasting started, and it was at a much greater distance that people were complaining. So the same mine expert for Seven Diamonds changed the distance to 4,000 to 5,000 feet. At that hearing, he said there is a difference between the two mining operations. He stated a Seven Diamonds blast would reduce ground vibrations to probably half, if not more. Here's just one comment from somebody. We were rocked today severely. My neighbor has things fall off his wall. I have to go check my swimming pool for cracks, and if my grandkids are in it, I have them pull out in case there's something catastrophic happens. How are the citizens surrounding the proposed diamond concrete plant supposed to be safe, particularly when there's so many misleading and inaccurate information? Will there be an air quality system to sound an alarm when the air is polluted? There is currently no air quality system near this part of Pasco. Will there be unpleasant smells? The fire station is 8 miles away. What are they going to do? Why are they getting wells and septic tanks? And if they do, are they going to be metered? US 41 is a 2-lane road, and it was shut down on Thursday, August 10th, due to an incident near US 41 bookstore. There are no shortcuts. There are no easy alternative routes. Gut Concrete is 2 miles north of the proposed concrete plant. It has CSX Railroad in back of it. Why do we need a second concrete plant? The zoning should remain as it currently stands. The Pasco County Water System Crossbar Regional Well Field abutting the proposed concrete plant needs protection. We need protection from businesses that pollute to affect our health, our safety, our properties, the aquifer, and the environment. Also, this week there was an article from the Tampa Bay Times that stated that more water is going to be needed. There is across the street the 2 open pits. They're massive for the Lago Verde mine and Seven Diamonds. So are they going to be polluted? But anyway, this Times article says that there is going to be increased pumping. So this is a very sensitive area. The first mine should have never been approved. It was in an active foreclosure lawsuit. How y'all missed it, I don't know. Anyway, I am very opposed to it. And there was a letter that I sent to Ms. Heiler to ask that it be included with the transmittal information. And I would like to include the Tampa Bay article.
Move to receive and file.
Second. Roll call.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Anyone else from the public here to speak? Anyone on WebEx?
Did he
Jack
leave?
Jones?
And there's no one on WebEx.
Okay. That's back to the,
Can I ask staff a question first?
back to staff.
So Amy, when this came to the planning commission, I thought the applicant was pretty clear that they were not going to be getting county water and sewer. The staff report still sounds like they are.
The staff report is just reflecting the utilities comments, so I could put a statement in the staff report that says even though that this is the comments or the capacity statement from utilities, they do not anticipate utilizing that.
I think that
The
should be
utility
clear.
will state that it has capacity. How it said capacity gets to the utility is up to the developer.
But the applicant made very clear that they have no intention to connect to county water, that they're going to be on well and septic. So my concern is this is somewhat misleading to the board and Department of Commerce. It makes it sound like they're connecting. I mean, the statement is, we will have adequate wastewater treatment services. But you're not requiring them to actually connect to those services. So I'm not sure why this is even in here. It just seems to be it's very misleading to the board and the state to say that there's adequate water and sewer supply when the applicant has no intention of connecting to any of it.
I'd have no problem modifying if necessary before it gets to DOC.
I mean, I guess if it said, if they connect, here's the supply that's available, but you should make it very clear the applicant does not intend to connect to, they intend to be on well and septic.
Understood. I can add a statement in there, no problem.
Okay.
Amy, did you want to receive a file? Thank you. Yes, I did forget to mention that at the beginning. The packet that I sent or put on all of yours, I would like to also receive and file that. I sent an email earlier this morning to the clerk's office with letters of opposition. So those are the documents that you have in front of you.
Okay.
Motion.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. Okay, to the applicant?
Barbara Wilhite for the applicant. Of the different comments, a lot of it had to do with the mines across the street. But I did want to, the crossbar wellfield comment, I did want to make sure that that was addressed. And we have Gary. We know all about the crossbar wellfield because we permitted our limestone mine across the street. So I thought Gary could explain that to you.
Who has that article? Is it down there? Can you pass it? I saw that, but I didn't get a chance to read that.
Name and address, sir?
My name's Gary Ubelauer. I'm a principal engineer with a consulting firm called ECT. Business address is 1408 Northwest Shore Boulevard in Tampa, and I have been sworn. The comments about the crossbar wellfield have to do with the direction of water flow beneath the ground, and the location of the proposed park will not adversely affect operation of the well field or any of the component wells. You have maps in your comprehensive plan that show what is called the cone of depression. That is an area to be protected, and you'll see that the Commerce Park is located outside of those areas of concern. And with that, any questions?
Well, only difference is the aquifer below ground moves east to west, which moves that water back the other way.
Correct.
So, if there was any issue, but I don't think there would be.
Correct.
Okay.
And I do have my team here if you have any additional questions.
Any additional questions? Barbara, just let me ask you a question. As far as there's going to be a lot of traffic going from one side of 41 to the other,
Say it again?
there's going to be a lot of traffic going from one side of 41 to the other? Or not, how many trips we estimate?
I'd have to ask the team member here, how much traffic's going to go from one side to the other. But that road has been improved all the way through that area for Lago Verde and for Seven Diamonds, so. And I think the driveways line up? Okay. The driveways line up between our driveway and Lago Verde's driveway.
Okay.
So, did you want somebody else to come up, or?
No, I think that at this point, we'll look at it later on down the road.
So,
It will be an act.
yeah, if I could comment, you don't have the MPD before you.
Right.
If you wanted to impose additional improvements at that intersection to address your concern, that would be the time you would request those additional improvements.
Okay.
And we do have, as I recall, the MPUD, because we were working on it yesterday, it does say that at the time of preliminary site plan, we have to do access management at that time. We didn't do it with the MPUD, so we will have to do that with staff and look at that specifically.
I know when Lago Verde came in, I was not pleased with the changes that happened from when they first came to us. It was just going to be a little sand pit with a little bit of a lake, and then they went down so deep. And I know with Seven Diamonds Mine, you guys did put a lot of buffering in place. I hope you'll do the same thing with the thing coming up here.
We did
as
a
you come
lot.
forward.
And we also did a lot of notifications. We have a elaborate notification system, thanks to Mr. Goldstein up there. before every blast. There's a lot of notifications that go out there, that go out, so I think all those things have helped. Thank you.
Barbara,
How
could
far
just-
is, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Oakley?
How far is the driveway from the property that, or the product they're going to be bringing across? How far is it from the,
We'll have, I know Steve designed all of this, so let's have him
okay.
tell you.
It's not right across the street then, is it?
I'd be going on memory, which isn't that good anymore.
I think it's actually south. This entrance is south of the other.
Steve Henry, Links and Associates, 5023 West Laurel, and I have been sworn. So the access between the Seven Diamonds mine and the entrance here is about 1,000 feet to the south. One of the things we are going to do to talk to DOT about the potential for having a separate driveway simply for trucks directly across from Seven Diamonds mine. So the trucks would come directly across 41 as opposed to turning right and then turning left into it. So that would be the option that we're going to explore. If for some reason DOT were to say no, then we would just have to come out and then turn about 1,000 feet. But we have built turn lanes, both acceleration and deceleration lanes for Seven Diamonds mine as a part of the construction of that mine to be able to accommodate that.
Right. Yeah, because there is a concern about how you get there, so.
Well, the reality is, and one of the things is that this particular is actually going to decrease the amount of traffic, because the reality is the demand for the product and for the end product is there. So whether the trucks leave here and go to another concrete batch plant 10 miles away, or they go across the street. So it's going to decrease the traffic in the overall area for those trucks.
Right.
And again, the trucks that will be leaving this facility delivering that product are already on the road. So really, from that standpoint, we're
You're just making their
decreasing.
trip a little bit shorter.
Right, we're decreasing the overall truck traffic on the road.
Right.
By providing this.
I understand that, yeah.
And for the people who live to the north, there'd be
Any-
less trips because they're just going south at that
Sure,
point, for the
correct,
most part.
right.
Commissioner Waitman?
Thank you. Just being a supporter of septic to sewer conversions, if there's just ever an opportunity to hook in, that'd be great to see, instead of living on a septic system forever. If there's ever an opportunity or we can move that direction for hookup, that'd be good to hear.
We understand.
That hookup's only for those businesses on that property, right?
That's right.
Right.
I would add, the MPD will have a live local condition in it.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
On the access, Steve, going from the mine to where I see the light industrial, it's the picture we're looking at, the map just doesn't quite show it, but is there enough access, do you think, to go from right across?
Yes, I mean, we've got if you go directly across, and again, it would only be to be able to go directly across. So there would not be trucks that are coming either north or south on 41 would not be able to turn in. It would simply be able for the trucks that are delivering the product across the street to go directly across. But yes, there are left and right turn lanes at that location.
No, it would make sense for DOT to give it to you to have the access to the north as well as Lago Verde having those too. Okay.
But we'll talk to DOT again. Worst case, if it's not, the driveways were built to be able to handle the traffic.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to get involved in that conversation to bring that to fruition.
Okay.
I move for submittal.
Second.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Bradford.
Aye.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Aye. I believe that brings us to committee reports. Oh, Commissioner Oakley.
Oh, what do I have?
Commissioner Oakley?
I think I'm clear. I don't have anything to present today.
Very good. Commissioner Waitman?
Thanks, Chair. I have a couple of pictures we have to go up. First, I'd like to thank Congressman Bill Rackus and his team. They went and had a coffee with the Congressman Town Hall in Lexington Oaks, and good conversation with him, and we're fortunate to have he and Congresswoman Lee in our part of the world, so appreciate, and she had a meeting yesterday evening in Wesley Chapel as well, so good to have them both back home for a little while before they go back up to north of Richmond to go to work for us up there. We also visited the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Campus for the open house, and the team did a great job. Keith Wiley, Ronnie Alton, Christina Cardone, I think, was there. I think she was here earlier today. Matt McDonough, Monica Holly Willett, is that how you say her name? And Coach Smallwood, Isaiah Smallwood, he has good energy. So excited to see the energy and momentum going forward from the team who's at the sports campus. We also attended both Orange Belt Trail meetings, the East Pasco and the West Pasco meeting, and I don't know if any other board members have attended, but there's a clear difference in opinion on the trail. Really, once you get east of Bellamy Brothers, folks are pretty passionate about the direction of that trail, and our office has had several meetings, and I encourage folks to hear what the folks who could potentially be impacted once they get east of Bellamy Brothers, what they have to say, and encouraging remarks from the folks on the west side of the county. So two very different opinions on the matter, but appreciated. Staff did a good job, and appreciated the opportunity to hear what folks had to say and engaging the public. So good work there. We also went and visited West Chapel Rec Center, Hyatt and Amandla Hill and Hyatt Mazzilli. They're both planners, I think, with Terry's department. And we had a 2050 workshop, and it was raining, so I had a couple of handfuls of people there, but it was really my first time participating in the 2050 workshop comp plan, and appreciated the level of engagement using the phones and the apps, and putting it on the big screen, and the breakout sessions with the tables. So another nice public meeting. So Terry, I guess that's your team. Appreciate what they did. And again, congratulations to Wiregrass Ranch and Wiregrass Ranch Boulevard being open. It's pretty wild to drive through that northern section and just look to your left and you see Saddlebrook and other places that we didn't get to see. So congratulations there. And I'll close with made a comment a couple board meetings ago about how we look at, Commissioner Stark brings it up, the drive-through restaurants, the car washes, the self-storage, and the design standards. And so my team and I had a meeting with Terry, very, very preliminary meeting, and he and Matt, was it Chris? And Chris, very interesting conversation with Terry and his team on the layout of these businesses and the side and back parking. And there's plenty of bad examples everywhere, but moving forward, I'm excited to see, not to put you on the spot now, Terry, but I hope that other commissioners will talk to Terry. And Terry, I'm anxious for when you bring your presentation forward, it's refreshing to see how just some simple changes can make for just a different feeling when you go to these places and shop and get your food or what have you. So, Terry, thank you, and that's all I have.
Let me add something since
Commissioner
you brought
Robles,
up
go
the Orange Belt Trail. It's a very important trail. There's been a misunderstanding with the people on the east side of the county. They are thinking that we're cutting their land in half.
Right, or going
where
over their
we truck
house.
back.
Yeah.
So that message got out and people just exploded that. When that's not going to happen at all. We're not going to condemn any of their property.
Right.
We're not going to cut their property in half. And they need to understand that. This trail is going to be for the use of coming across our entire county, and coming into the east side of the county is going to be a very well-used Orange Belt Trail. So, and will add to the better things that are coming in the Pasco and in the east side.
I talked to
Commissioner Starkey.
some business people on the east side, one whose last name is Simpson, and he's very excited about the opportunities that he's going to have to put retail along the trail.
Certain areas, yeah.
And it's really, you know, he used to always tease me about pushing the trail, but he is buying property along the trail for economic opportunity along the proposed trail route. So I think it's very smart. And, you know, people get misinformation and sometimes have their own, in my opinion, unrealistic impressions of trails bringing in crime and whatever. But there is no doubt that the closer you are to a trail like of this type, your property values go up, and you're actually safer because there's more eyes around to stop crime. So I look forward. You know, we have a ways to go on this, but I look forward to more and more discussions on this. I think it's going to be wonderful for the county.
Just let me add on a little bit too. So my impression when I met with the folks from the east side is there was like 4 or 5 different routes, as I believe, different connections all the way through. And I think they had a strong voice to how it was going to affect them. So I think as we look at that, we just take that to effect as we go forward. I think we'll be okay. I think there's alternatives there that can make it all work. It's just a matter of make it all work that works for everybody.
It'll work out.
It'll work out. And I've spoken to people who live on the east side, say they love the trail. They don't want it near their home, but they will get in the car and drive to the trailhead next to someone else's home and ride their bikes in front of their home. So it's, you know.
this?
NIMBYs, huh? NIMBYs. Okay, I think I'm
Commissioner
up.
No, Commissioner Waitman.
Hey,
Oh, still? Okay.
Terry or somebody, forgive me, so Sam moved on. Who's the young lady in charge of it now? What's her name? Remind me of her name.
It's in engineering,
It might be.
not
Franklin's
Terry.
spot.
Well, Sam Bannock was in engineering services, but Carl is telling me that it's Aaron Swanson.
Yeah, Erin.
Yeah.
You know, her first meeting was at the Dade City Orange Belt session.
Poor thing.
So, but she hung tough. She hung tough.
The crowd didn't allow her to really present.
And, you know, hopefully she sticks with it, but she did a good job under the circumstances. So her welcome to Pasco County Public Meeting.
At all?
Done.
Okay. Commissioner Starkey.
I'll start with one that I was going to give to Mr. Steinschneider, and I don't know if you want to tackle this or not, but I have some constituents who, when they have called in for code enforcement violations, that our staff, so let's say you turned in your neighbor for overgrown or whatever, when code comes out, they ask who made the complaint, and they say, well, your neighbor did, and I get that we can't do anonymous complaint, I mean, you can't, but she was wondering if, can't you say you need to call the county and make a public service request to ask for that information? Should we just be giving it so freely? Because I can tell you, one of my constituents went in the hospital with 15, and he had to have a lot of surgery on his face because his neighbor beat him up. And so,
I mean, typically on a public records request, if we have the information, we disclose it.
just right there, you just give it, there's no hoops, no little bit of,
I'm not sure what.
I'd like to know if
I could
we
see
can-
if the citizen were standing right there, how you'd want to diffuse the situation, but if it's just our code officer, I mean,
I think they should have to go fill out a form to ask who made the complaint.
I'll do whatever you guys
So
want.
I'd just like to
To
know
be-
what,
yeah, to
what
be-
leeway we have in the
To be
law.
clear, a public records request can be verbal. So if they're asking the code officer.
And they can
for-
verbally reply,
Yes.
go file a paper.
Well, you can't make somebody, you can't have a precondition to a public records request that they go fill out a form. So somebody can just verbally make a public records request, and if we have that information, we need to provide it.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that Thursday we can have this discussion to go back again to anonymous code
Well,
complaints.
that's a state- legislative
Yeah, yeah.
issue fix.
And that's Thursday, we have that discussion. Okay, where's my notes here? So, on my ongoing landscaping commercial, I want you to notice that the Steak and Shake, who took out all their trees, has redone their parking lot. And I don't know, at Mitchell Plaza, and then you have Chick-fil-A, you can see the bottom, and then you can see over here, they're putting theirs back in again. So thank you very much to the businesses in the Trinity area. Yesterday, we had a press conference, and Ashley asked me to speak at it, and somewhere I have the facts. Oh, shoot. The numbers of, the numbers that are coming out are crazy on opioid and fentanyl overdoses. And the general chose to do this press conference in Pasco County because apparently we're ground zero again in the state. So the national opioid crisis, with fentanyl being one of the most potent opioids, had last year in the United States more than 110,000 overdose deaths, and most of those deaths were due to fentanyl. In Florida, we lose 23 people a day, and 15 out of those 23 are from fentanyl. Pinellas and Pasco has the most fentanyl deaths statewide. Last year, there were 374 overdose deaths in the first 6 months. Fentanyl is now found in every illicit drug, and the general is asking that the country consider fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which will lead to a lot more resources. They're saying that that fentanyl is being stockpiled here in the United States, and literally think of our water supply. You can load, a balloon or something up with some fentanyl, send it over, or drone, just drop it in. You can walk through the grocery store, spread it on vegetables, whatever. I mean, it can be so easily dispersed in mass, and we'll have mass casualty events, and they're very, very concerned about this. So it was a very interesting press conference. Okay, I sent some pictures. I don't know what order they're coming in. Hopefully the order I sent. And then we're going to go over what I gave you guys, because I've been working on this for a while. Was it a video? Oh, this is the way they do the bike trail in Traverse, Michigan, which is why I wasn't at those meetings. I was riding my bike in Michigan. And on one side, they have one direction, and on the other side, they have the other direction. They did a road diet. They narrowed the road, made it more pedestrian-friendly, and added these bike lanes, which I thought was a brilliant way to do it. Okay? This is the way they did the bike trail around the lake. And I tried to get D.R. Horton to do this in this project that they're doing. So the bike trail is between the townhomes and the lake, so everybody gets to use it. But those people still get lake views, and they have privacy from their shrubs. But, to save that waterfront, just like Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, I mean, then everyone gets to enjoy this lakeside opportunity. And that trail was really, really popular. There's another picture of this trail. That's fine on that one. This is how they went across their lake. Look at that beautiful trail. And those bump outs on the side are for people to fish. So a lot of recreational opportunities for their citizens. This is, and this is what you can ride on those trails. Or somewhere.
What is that?
Okay, those are some kind of bikes, and you put your drinks in the cooler in the middle, and you I think there's 6 or 9 seats around that thing. You ever been to Nashville and you see people cycling in those little trolleys down the street, especially bachelorette parties? Okay, yeah, this is a cycle party. This is how they do their trees, to keep the roots from tearing up everything. They put these along the street there. So I thought that was a good idea. Do I have more pictures there? Okay, I wanted to show you, this is the Home Light project did everyone get to meet with them before we approved it today? When y'all weren't bringing up any objections, especially Seth, I didn't want to complicate things and pull it off. But that was a C2 project that came in for multifamily, and it came in a long time ago, but we kept working and working. Is Terry still here? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times planning met with this poor guy, but we said, if you're going to convert C2, there has to be, retail and commercial underneath. So Terry, if you could just explain this a little bit.
To your point, Mr. Chair, I was on the phone with Liam at like 7:30 last night going over the project.
Yeah. You should see what it came in with first time, and it was beautiful, but it wasn't going to work for us.
It didn't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liam.
So to just walk through the site plan or the conceptual plan very quickly here. Basically, on the north end of the property is Rangeland Boulevard, and on the south end is State Road 54. So it's very, very close together, where the two roads are sort of diverging from one another. And up the center of the property is a connecting road that will link the two. All of the buildings are oriented toward this internal roadway, and what you're seeing depicted on the plan is the vertically integrated mixed-use buildings, both on the east side and on the west side of this road. The first floors are commercial, as the commissioner noted. Above that is the residential multifamily aspect of it, and behind each of the buildings are parking decks in order to accommodate the parking needs for the development, and possibly for any parking needs for other developments that might happen on the north side of Rangeland Avenue.
Which is that spray field where, the baseball was licking, and
Right.
we'll have something over there.
Importantly, there's two out parcels that are stationed along the 54 frontage. On these two parcels, we had a particular condition built into the conditional use, where the buildings would have to be oriented toward the internal roadway and the parking to the side and rear of the buildings, such that the people that would visit these two sites, potential restaurant users, might be able to walk and stroll between the shops and arcades that are, arcade being the underneath the building, if you will, of the frontages of these buildings here, and visit some of the retail opportunities that might be on the site. And that way, all of the pedestrian activity is framed by the buildings, and you can quickly and easily move between the various sites.
And one of the things we were insistent is this road had to go, because originally he didn't go through. It had to start, it had to connect 54 to Rangeland. Because it originally had an apartment complex and a big U. And no, there has to be a connection between the two roads, so.
Right.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what I handed out here is, and you may have gotten the email, I can send it back out to you again, but, and I thought this was done every year. I kept asking Ralph, email me the final appropriation list, and he kept sending it to me, and it kept coming without the red line. And I said, no, not that one. I want the one where only just the things that got approved are in there. And turns out no one makes that list. And so I got FACT to do that, and they said they're going to do it every year. They went through every county and highlighted in red the vetoes, and everything else you see here are the ones that came through. And the ones that I printed out here, did you get so I had my staff just pull, where'd Oakley go? Did he leave us? So I had my staff pull.
Commissioner,
Yeah?
I was wondering, since Commissioner Oakley's not here, would this be a better discussion on Thursday to have?
Did he leave, or did he go to the restroom? There's a coffee cup. Huh?
But it might be a good discussion we could do there on Thursday, because it.
Let me go into it a little
Yeah,
here.
Okay.
and then we can go into it more on Thursday.
Okay.
But what I want you to notice here, really, this is more for us than them, because this is just I'm just trying to educate us. And actually, Ralph educated me on something in looking at these. So if you see the ones that I highlighted in pink, you'll notice there's no Senate, what's the SF?
Senate form or House form. It wasn't a member project.
After those appropriations. That means, and Chris Sprouse and I, he was so kind, he spoke to me for like an hour. I have to do it again, so it'll sink in, that there is a lot of money in Tallahassee where it's their funds,
They're grants.
They're
They're grants that are funded. So basically, every year, the House puts out, after the budget's been put out, a county breakdown of every project going to the county. What happens is they not only include member projects, they include the transportation work plan, they include every grant from different departments, whether it be library funds, historical grants, and whatnot. So it looks like a lot for that county, but you got to understand that these majority of those are grants that they've applied for.
Okay, but that's not the point.
I know that.
Okay, I want you to look at our sheet. This is our sheet, okay? It's the front, part of the front of this sheet, because you got Palm Beach up there on the first two lines. Commissioner, you have these. And this is what we got from the state, the whole county, not just the county. And then we stop right here, okay? So I'm not even sure, okay, we might have filled one side of one page. Now, here's Volusia. Let's look at their, 3 pages. If you go to cultural and museum grants there, all those different organizations applied for grants. And they may not be huge amounts, but they're probably big to those nonprofits. And Chris told me these are not member projects that get vetoed.
No, they're not. And the other thing, as I told you, Commissioner, because you don't want to do apples to oranges, these also, even though they say the county name, these are municipalities that have applied.
Yeah, and well, if you look in here, it's not only cities, it's.
I know, but they'll list it as a county, but, like Pinellas County, they have 24 cities. 24 cities could have applied for 5 grants, and maybe
So,
gotten one.
and my point to this is we have to teach our citizens. We have to educate them that they need to be applying for stuff. Because we're not doing enough. Our cities aren't asking, and our nonprofits aren't asking. And Commissioner Oakley, I think you're on the Fair Board, and I've noticed when I'm going through all of these, that everyone's, asking for the fair, money for the fair, and there's no Senate form after it, so there must be a fair fund
There
somewhere.
is, and we've gotten money for our fair in the past.
But do we ask
we have.
every year, or just occasionally, or?
No, we ask from time to time.
But are you asking as a member?
I'm not a member of the
Fair Association,
I'm not a member, I'm.
Okay,
yes, they're asking
I'm
as the
ex
Fair
officio,
Association.
and that's a city.
but what I mean
Fair.
is, are we asking our legislator to sign on to one, or are we taking advantage of these grants?
Taking advantage of the grants.
Well, we certainly are lacking in the cultural and museum grants and the Culture Builds Florida. I am really hoping that the Friends of the libraries and whatever organizations we have, we got to get them asking for money. Because, my gosh, look at Sarasota. It's just pages and pages.
And I think it's just a matter of education. It's kind of like when we have our workshops with our municipalities, we just continue to tell them, we hope you put a project in. When I see Debbie Mann or
Yeah, all
Billy
our cities
Poe,
need to be
I'll encourage them to make sure they're putting projects in every year.
Now, I noticed in a lot of these, Commissioner Mariano, there's let's say in this one, Pensacola Beach Renourishment Project. And it's under Beach Project, and there's no Senate form after it, so there's a fund for money to help with beaches. Have we ever applied for that?
Have the what?
Have we ever applied for any money to put any sand on any of our beaches?
We
Fire
had,
beaches do.
Mike, go
From
ahead.
this fund,
I don't know the answer to that question, Commissioner, but what you're seeing now, especially starting with Thursday, is more of a concerted and deliberate effort from this county to be able to go after, additional state resources to bring back home to our citizens. That is why we're going to do this. It is to essentially take advantage of this and to be more organized, and that's the approach that I want to bring to this process after having gone through the legislative process with you all this previous year. And so Ralph's done a great job. We're going to set up on Thursday. I've actually spoken to a lot of our municipal partners as well and invited them in, that we're going to go together as a singular county, as an entity. So because all of our citizens, deserve to have these things come back to them. So we're beginning that process. I would say that we probably haven't been as organized as we should have been
Well-
in the past, and we're changing that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we
We've
all
got-
know that
We've
these
got money
funds
for the
exist.
fair. We've got money from the fair through Wilton Simpson.
I know, but there's a difference in getting it from the fund and getting it as an appropriation that someone's
We've got a
sponsoring. That's
grant
what
to
I'm
build-
saying.
Build a big pavilion right now.
Chris
They're fixing
Sprouse
to do it.
told me of I think the cultural fund that he added, millions of dollars to. And I don't think we've ever, I don't know if we tapped into it. So I think we have I think we have a lot of learning to do. And I think we have to educate our community on that there's an ability to ask for money. There's a lot of money going here for substance and mental health. I don't know. Do any of our people ask for that? So when I look to see who in our county, besides us, not saying us, who in our county asked for money last year, there's very few people asking for anything. There is nothing from Newport Richey.
Kathy?
Kathy Pearson, Assistant County Administrator, Public Services. As far as the fairgrounds, we did receive money. That's how they renovated the fairgrounds about 2
They're in
years
the
ago,
process
3
Okay, but
years
what-
ago.
Do you know if it was a grant or was it an appropriation?
It was an
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying, you can
allocation.
go back, someone can go back and ask for some grant money.
And the health
It's not an
department,
appropriation.
and the health department just received, I forgot how much, but they've gotten an enormous amount of money for the substance abuse and mental health. So that's how they're working with the fire and all that kind of good things. So we could be more proactive, and we will be, and I'll definitely commit to the
yeah.
library one.
When you look at how many asks went in from our county compared to the other counties of the same population, we got to get our people on the stick. So it's not just us, it's our people. So that's kind of my point when you're looking at these.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Commissioner Bradford?
It's really nice to be here. It's great to participate. I appreciate all of your dynamic personalities. I don't say a lot, but I certainly listen as much as I can, and I look forward to being here next month. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Gary. County Administrator?
Yes, I have a few more items than usual today, so if the board will indulge me, I'll move quickly. Just a quick couple of blurbs. I know Commissioner Waitman mentioned Congressman Laura Lee. She was actually at one of our fire stations on August 17th to meet. We appreciate her support of our first responders, as our entire federal delegation, but specifically looking to push forward some SAFER grants, which will be part of what we're talking about here in terms of bringing financial support back to the county. Second item is that our purchasing department actually was one of 45 counties to win a national award, being recognized as having an excellence in procurement. So we're very proud of our purchasing department, helping us to make sure that we're doing the right things when it comes to government procurement. So hats off to them. I do have another accolade for our media relations and communications, and if you've got a second here, I'd like to show you the video, but we won another telly. This was a bronze telly, and the tellys, as you know, recognize excellence in video and TV communication. They have 12,000 entries annually, so to win one of these is rather prestigious, and this was related to Pasco Outdoor Adventures. So I think that's queued up, if you wouldn't mind showing that, Sonia.
seen
Well
that
done.
bird move like that.
Very nice.
That was very cool.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
So hats off to the team. We're very, very proud of them. The last item, and I'm really this is just more of a report because it just happened. Some of you may have recall that we had a 2017 sewer agreement with Hernando County to provide service along the county line that was subsequently canceled by their board in 2022. That obviously put a blow to development on the Pasco County side of the line, since we don't yet have sewer service up there. We had kind of worked together to try to work on a joint agreement with Hernando County to do some, to support jointly the widening or transfer of County Line Road North, and in return get that sewer agreement, something that would benefit both parties. And I had that actually teed up to go on to the September 5th agenda because it was going before the Hernando County Board of County Commissioners today. Unfortunately, they passed the road agreement, but also again shot down the sewer agreement. So at this time, I'm just advising the board that I do not intend to bring that agreement forward at this time until I have an opportunity to speak with their county administrator. But if the board has any guidance or anything that they'd like to say to me about this before I go forward, I'd certainly love to hear it at this time.
Well, Mike, this is a very important agreement to us. And I know you, as past utilities director, knew exactly what to do, how to work it out, and you took the long approach to getting it right. So to see it not go forward is very disappointing. And I think we talked just little bit, and you mentioned a comment that sometimes the counties that border each other will service another area, maybe not for water, but at least for sewer, where they're going to make money, especially if capacity is available. And especially if there's a long-term plan that we could show that we're going to build our capacity, we're just not ready for it yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, the existing agreement did have a 10-year initial term on it, so the intent was for Pasco County to eventually get utilities into those areas. So it would have helped, but again, again, you know, I know we struggle with development in that area. And the original agreement did include water and sewer, but we were respectful of Hernando's wishes because they're not part of a regional water supply, and so their water supplies were limited, so we kind of backed off of that. But at any rate, I intend to have those conversations, but I do not intend to bring that agreement forward at this time. Just because that really wasn't what we discussed, and so we'll continue to have those conversations.
I know we're going to be running sewer up there, and it would make sense for us to rebuild the road and then have to redo our side of the road to go put the pipes in anyway. So it wouldn't be efficient for the state to even go forward with it at this point.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but this was just happened today, so I just wanted to report it since the board was in session now, and just to let you know.
And I'll thank Carl McKisco, who's our MPO director, for being there, and he's been shepherding this all the way through as far as the transportation part to work with DOT to see it.
It's been over a year in the
going
works.
a different way, yeah. Kind of a sad thing. Commissioner Oakley.
I think Kathy Pearson might have something to report, that we were the...
Well, I was going to add as well that, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Was that,
I was thinking you were done, so...
No, sorry, there's a lot going on here. Of course, if you didn't hear, we are now the lead agency for for senior services, so we will be taking over. You did pass a consent item today, subject to county attorney review of the agreement that I can execute, and we can go forward in providing that vital service to our seniors. I also think, Denise, did you have an answer to a question that was asked during the board meeting that you'd like to?
I do, thank you. I know it's not normal, but in response to how many billboards were removed off of 19, the answer is a total of 18.
18, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Okay.
And that results in 18,080 square feet of billboard space removed.
Very good, thank you.
Well,
Mr.
Seth's-
Starkey?
Yeah, Seth's walking out the door, but I read that article with the pumping of the water and the thoughts of looking at crossbar and
not
two
just
things I want
Crossbar?
to bring up with Tampa Bay Water, not crossbar, Cypress Creek. Yeah, so they're talking about pumping more water,
Yeah, but that's from all well fields, that's not just from Crossbar.
or is it?
That's over the region to maybe possibly get up to 10 million gallons a day.
Well, I can tell you which one would be great to pump from, and that is Eldridge Wild. Because the Trinity area and Booker Creek, that's where all the flooding issue is. So if they,
It's caused because they backed off pumping.
yeah, I saw it's down to
They have
30
flooding issues.
MGD.
I
but-
brought that up at the meeting yesterday.
But if they wanted to start with one, I would highly suggest Eldridge Wild, which for those of you who don't know, Eldridge Wild is in Pinellas County on the Pasco-Pinellas border. And mistakenly, when Trinity got their master water plan, it was during the drought, and Swift Mud actually asked the developer, Dr. Gills, to bring the Broco Creek water in from Pinellas County under Trinity Boulevard into Thousand Oaks to rehydrate the wetlands. So now we're getting their water where we don't want it. And you know what I'm talking
And
about.
it's caused
That's
flooding.
BMPA.
Absolutely.
So, so Eldridge Wild, pump away, pump.
Yeah, but we work closely with Swiftmud, and we've asked Swiftmud the possibility of possibly doing some additional pumping because we've recovered very well with Crossbar and that area out there. You can go down 52 and you can see the recovery and the swamps and
Yeah.
things where the water is. And it's,
Starkey Park looks
I
great.
mean, I don't know what it is about that area, and they must put that well field out there for some reason, because we can get 3 inches of rain in the Dade City area, and you'll get 7 inches right out there around 4G Ranch in that area where Crossbar is.
It's the line, the coastal breeze line.
Yep.
We
And
watch
they're
it every
looking
day
at
at the market.
Also looking at another property to take care of development rights that also borders right up next to Crossbar Wellfield, which will give more protection for that wellfield, so.
So the other issue we have with Crossbar that I think Mr. Carballa and I will have a conversation with Chuck, but I just want to bring to your attention, is with the Orange Belt alignment, it's very important that we use that road that has been in talks all along, that cuts the corner off of Aaron Cutoff to behind Central Pasco Town Center or whatever, Central Pasco Employment. I hope we have a better name for that whole area one day. Yeah, the Central Pasco Employment District, that's not a nice name. Because the reason why that's important is the rail corridor goes up between Cypress Creek and the development, but that is the shooting place, Tampa Bay Sporting Place. And so we want to get into the park and away, and there's already a road there. And it's at grade, there's no environmental impact. We don't want to be riding along Tampa Bay Sporting Place. So,
Good point.
and all of a sudden, I'm hearing a little talk that maybe there's an issue. So we want to make sure that that's locked down, because that's a very important section. We actually are about to go for a grant for money to build part of that section, so.
Okay.
That's it for me.
County Attorney,
I have nothing.
Madam Clerk.
I have 2 quick items. So the first one is our office provides law library services for the county through the Legal Resource Center. So I want to make you aware of a new service for certain non-confidential civil cases. We have a new filings viewer in the Legal Resource Center. This often comes up with the public and in the media for certain. When new cases are filed, they have to normally wait for them to be processed to be able to see them. This will allow them to see them as soon as they're filed, as long as they're not, a confidential case type. So just want to make the board aware, since we provide services for the board and the Legal Resource Center. The second one is a warrant scam that's out there that we are alerting out on our side. It actually happened in Pinellas, but we share the same chief judge with Judge Crane. And it's a scam where a citizen had some deputies, or they pretended to be Pinellas County deputies, calling the citizen and telling them that because they had a failure to appear in a civil violation, a warrant was issued for her arrest. And essentially, the citizen was worried about it and even looked up the individuals' names online, because they were real Pinellas County deputies. She ended up believing it, but they scammed her out of $12,500 to resolve the arrest warrant. And so the victim purchased the gift cards. They directed her to purchase gift cards and send the barcodes over the phone. And they were smart scammers because they used real Pinellas County deputies and Chief Judge Crane's name
Wow.
in the scam, and that's how they got away with it. And so because we
That's
shared
scary.
the same, we were in the same circuit, we're telling Pasco residents also about the scam. So that is it.
It's scary if somebody's asking for gift cards.
They do it all the time. They do it with jury scams. They do it, we get calls weekly, probably.
Yeah. Crazy. I don't see Alex in the sheriff's office yet. Okay. I've got a couple items. Hudson Beach, as you mentioned, Mr. Starkey, we actually had that with the legislature twice to get funded. Once we had it with the sprinkle, and then Hurricane Ian came in. The other time it just got vetoed. So I'm looking at tourist development to go do that initial investment to spend 250 grand. That'll be coming up, I think, at the next board meeting. And I want to thank Congressman Lee for coming to Pasco County, as Mike had mentioned, coming in there. I was unable to make it. I was under the knife, you might say, while that was going on, but glad you've shown up. It looks like the grant we're looking for is still in play. So the rejection letters have gone out. We haven't got one yet, which is a very good sign. And I got a question. With Wiregrass Sports Ranch, we have a chance to do naming rights, correct? And we haven't done that yet. Is there any,
There is an
Is
existing
there-
naming rights agreement.
there isn't? Okay.
Existing agreement that we would have inherited from RAD, if I'm not
That's correct.
Okay, so who's the advertiser? It's got to be, it's like a 10-year agreement.
Yeah, I don't know offhand.
It's Advent, yes.
Okay. I mean, with a hockey rink, you see that name everywhere. We don't see it on theirs. I mean, even the flyers we just had up earlier today, you had Wiregrass Ranch.
I mean,
don't
I
see
don't know,
anything
but
on
they're
that.
paying, so.
Okay. Well, that's great. And by the way, they did my surgery, and they were phenomenal. What a great company. Mudroom. Mike, you and I talked about it just a little bit. How intense are we looking at as far as Mudroom goes, as far as who's getting a big discount, who's not, as far as these projects go, as far as impact fees go?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to answer that.
The question, how many projects are getting the discount, or?
Yeah, does it happen a lot? Is it easy
I
to
don't know,
get?
Terry,
slow
how
to get?
often would you say that we have projects that come in to use Mudroom as,
Based on the MPDs that I'm reviewing, I would say it's 10% at most.
10%, okay.
Usually 3 or 4 per year, perhaps.
I mean, Brad,
All
do
right,
you
so it's
think
not not sort of big amount.
is it
Okay.
higher than 10% or lower?
I would say that it is the incentive type that is used most often.
It's used far more than T&D and TOD is used, but it's still, I mean, is 10% about right, or is it a lower?
It's probably the people that actually invoke it is right around 10%, maybe even less, because some places are doing only a portion of their project. We try to make it an option in most of the MPDs, that if they design it to the code elements that are set out for mudroom,
Yeah.
that they can do it.
Okay.
But it's not too heavily used.
All right, well, that's all I have, so we're adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains. Stormwater carries these pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.